Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hey!
Hello!
Well, you got me mid-sip. Good timing.
I love that.
I gotta drink up when I'm talking to you.
I understand.
For the fourth time today.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's not the
we talk a lot. We do talk a lot.
Just don't blame my alcoholism on you. On me, I mean.
No.
I switched that.
You are not the reason I started drinking. You're the reason I keep drinking, but you're not the reason I started. You're not the reason I started.
I told you and my mother have something in common.
Yeah, right. Can I first comment quickly on your cantankerous amount of hair?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes,
that's
please
just
do.
That's very. It's lycanthropy. That's like it's right before. It's like 12:01 at midnight, right as he changes. As Talbot changes into the Wolfman, that's you.
That's fucking great.
You look. If Woody Allen became a werewolf, he'd look like you with the glasses, with the whole.
First of all, lycanthropist. I love that you're the only guest so far to zing me with a thesaurus. That's beautiful. Everybody else, I have to actually look all that up.
Do you remember the great Angela Lozada? Great comedian that we lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Angelo once was sitting at the Stand Up New York. It was years ago. And he's talking with this young woman, really, really pretty woman. Mm-hmm. And I could tell he's hitting on her. I walk in. He didn't even know I was there. I come up behind him and I slide right next to him. And I say to the woman, "Be careful of this man. He's a nefarious fellow." And I walked away. And behind me, I hear Angelo go, "Who cockblocks a guy with vocabulary?"
Oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
You're making me choke. Only a couple minutes in. Holy shit.
Long as it looks like an accident, that's all I care about. I didn't want to tell you.
Off the
I have a contract. A contract has been taken out on you. And I didn't, and we got to make it look. I don't want to hurt you, but Ed Asner took out a contract on you. And he's trying to avoid you until you're gone. So,
he could just not do the show. Does anybody tell him that? He could just show up.
I'm not the only. There's been 5 of us who have been trying to kill you for like 3 weeks now, and he keeps having to change the card. He keeps putting the date on the flowers. I said, "Don't put the date, Ed. Don't put the date." But he don't listen. He's been around. He thinks he knows everything.
He's 91. He's not going to listen.
No, not at that age.
No, he
halfway
can't.
To 182.
He used to be J. Jonah Jameson. Come on. All he wants is pictures of Spider-Man and me dead. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I actually kind of want to frame this because I decided all the guest bookings are going to be done old school at a regular calendar. I'm not putting them in my phone. I want to look at them. But it is kind of, I want to frame it because it does have Ed Asner written all over it. No.
Well, what you do is
fine.
if you don't die before you get him, then which will ruin his day anyway. But if you get him, then what you got to do is you got to try and mail it to him and get him to autograph it.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. And knowing him, he's just going to keep it.
You have
what?
I love that you said knowing him is just going to keep it. And if I know Ed,
he's a funny guy. He's a very funny man. Yeah,
he's hilarious. I had like a 2-second conversation. No, I mean like a couple minutes with him on the phone, and all he did was shit on me, and he doesn't even know me, which is I enjoyed every minute of it.
Look, 2 seconds of you, everybody knows you.
Everybody's met somebody like me.
Yeah, you're expansive in your talents, but you're not deep. You're like a crystalline puddle. It just goes on. It looks like it should be deep, but it's not. You're like a veneer of talent. That's what I'm saying. Sorry,
I can't do. Are we done? I can't do this for another. This is. I'm already hurting. John, you saw that. I texted you the picture of the sandwich.
There's a contract. There's a contract, John. I told you.
That's right. This is how much he and I talk. I do send him pictures of what I'm eating.
Yeah, we're that close. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this dinner looks good. Click. Yep. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we both agree on is food.
Yes.
We both love food.
Yeah, we both do. We love food. Mm-hmm. You're a master of alcohol. My first drink was with you, I believe. And I don't remember it because you roofied me, but you were. It was. No, should have saved that for the back room. This is live. We were.
I wanted you to shut up, John. That's all I wanted. You're the only guy I know who talks more when he drinks. It's a narcotic. It's a depressant. It slows you down, and you.
I know.
Wow.
It's so weird. It's so fucking true. It is so weird. I'm like, but I love that you. It was like you couldn't even be bothered paying full money for the roofie. It was just a Benadryl. You're like, fucking kid, stirring it into the drink. It's like, I'm
just gonna keep going with this, huh? This is.
It was in Atlantic City. It was you. You invited me up to see you and Monty. We're doing Borgata.
That's right. I remember.
And I came into the room. You guys were blasting jazz, and you had your drinks, and then we went down to the bar. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's called Showbusiness.
It was exactly. It was a full on. It's called show. It's a full on lesson in show business.
Yeah, a little Ella Fitzgerald, a little Count Basie, a little whiskey, a little something.
Little whiskey.
And then, yeah, it's just we call it getting down the runway. You got to get down the runway. That's all. Then you take the elevator to work. You go down. It's my favorite kind of gig. Taking the elevator to work and one show a night. My favorite kind of gigs because I am, very lazy. I'm lazy, is what I'm saying. 2 shows is a lot. 3 is too much. I've done. I think I did it's 7 or 9 in one day.
Wow.
Full sets, 40-minute sets at the Comedy Magic Club in California in Hermosa Beach because they had Christmas. It was Christmas time. And, the Comedy Magic Club has 2 rooms, the big room, main room, and then the small room. And so I think the first show is 11 a.m. or 10. It was like a luncheon thing in the big room. So we had like 3 or 4 people. I went out, did 35 or 40 at the end. And as I was wrapping up, they're introducing me in the other room. Oh, wow. So I went from doing 40, ran down the hallway and did 40 again.
Wow.
And I went back and forth, and then the regular evening shows, then the last show. And I think we were there till midnight or whatever it was. And I think I had done 7 or 9 full sets. Wow. And by the 3rd show, I said, boy, I better come up with a set list because I never work with a list of material I want to hit. And I said, I better do it because by the 3rd show, I was on stage going into a bit. And I'm thinking, oh, wait, no, I did this already. I really thought I did. So I was looking at the audience to see if I saw anybody go. Right? I didn't know if I did. So I'd go. So I had to go to the doctor. And I really did that. And after that show, I started writing a set list. I was like, okay, at least I have an order now.
Yeah.
Because I was doing too many shows that close together.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask, did you do the same show like back to back, or did you move around the jokes? And you were because I feel like
I couldn't. Not with that many. I had to keep it in an order because if I went out of order, I would have forgot if I already did. Because by the time I was on the 6th show or the 7th show, I'm like, I've done this 35, 40 minutes over and over and over. I had no idea where I was, so I had to do it in an order. That's the only time I ever did that.
Oh my God. Did the crowds wonder where you were? Because usually you do a show, you hang out, people get to see you after the show where they're like, where the fuck's he going?
Oh, yeah.
They understand that you were.
Yeah, some people thought their show was the only one that day. It's like, oh, he's here for us. No, I'm here for a lot of people. Actually, I'm not here for any of you. I'm here for money. That's why I'm here. So let me go down the hallway and make more money. So I kept running back and forth. Oh. Yeah, and I didn't stop till the end. It was late at night. It was like 11 o'clock or whatever, which is late for LA. 11 o'clock at night. There's nobody out at that hour.
No, I know.
So Yeah, but that was the only time I had to write down a set list.
Wow. Is that your favorite? Is Comedy Magic your favorite club?
I had in this country?
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite. I would have to say there are 3 clubs I absolutely love. Comedy and Magic it's the Mecca. That's what I consider it. I know there's a lot of great clubs, but for me personally, in all the ones that I've worked, that is the Mecca for the show busy level of comedy. Meaning there's a lot of great actors who are comics who go there, a lot of writers who are comics who go there, and it's all top level. There's never a bad show there.
Right.
No, never a bad lineup. I love Hilarities in Cleveland. Nick Costas' room is just that's a beautifully built, designed restaurant and cabaret theater and comedy club. And also the Comedy Castle up in Royal Oak.
Oh yeah.
In Michigan. Yeah. Ridley's place. Those are my 3, I think, favorites here in the United States. Yeah, in the States. That's my favorite.
That's awesome. Because we've always talked about doing the Comedy Castle together, which I'd love to do. We got to do that one day.
Yeah, I would love that.
One week. But I've been to Comedy Magic and I've been to the Comedy Castle. Never been to Hilarities. Are they because I could see how Comedy Magic and the Comedy Castle have similar kind of aesthetics room wise. Does Hilarities have that same kind of feel?
Hilarities is a very new club. I guess you could say that because I think it was 2000 and it was either 3 or 4, I believe, when I met Nick, who owns it, Nick Costa, and he came up to me at Montreal at the festival, and he had this envelope, a manila envelope, and he showed me the pictures of the new Hilarities. It wasn't even open yet. And he showed me all the pictures, and I was like, Nick, this is a palace. This is gorgeous. It's a phenomenal restaurant alone. It's beautiful, and the food is incredible alone. Then you go downstairs. There's like a cabaret stage, a very nice bar and lounge, and then the room. You walk in the room, and it's got a balcony around the inside. It's just gorgeous, and it's a big room. I want to say 350, 400 maybe in that room in Nick's place. And it's got 3 names. It's Hilarities, Pickwick and Frolics, and 4th Street. It's got like 3 different names. Because the restaurant is Pickwick and Frolics, and then but Hilarities is and he really revitalized that part of downtown Cleveland. There was nothing there when he moved the club there. People thought he was nuts. There was just a lot of empty strip mall stores, and he went in and showed you could make money. And then the House of Blues literally opened across the street from him.
Oh, wow.
And that brought a lot more business, and it all built up there. But he was the first one, man.
Is the House of Blues? They don't do too much stand up there, though, right? They're not competitors, are they?
No.
Okay.
But there are House of Blues. There are occasional stand up shows at the House of Blues, around the country. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was like, oh, that was a dick move for them to open up across the street.
No,
doing well.
Yeah, I don't think even if it was like a similar business, I feel like sometimes it's good to have that's why you could have like 3 pizza stores on the same corner in Brooklyn, because the crowd attracts more of a crowd, and then you don't go to the same pizza store every time. So you're going back.
And they also all don't have the same amount of guns. You know what I mean? So it's safe to say. I have no idea. Brooklyn.
That's so stereotypical. John, that's just racist. That's just racist, John.
It is against Italians. I know
you're Italian, and everybody thinks I'm Italian, but that's racist.
Everybody does think you're Italian. Even I forget, and I think you're Italian. You got it in you.
I'll tell you a funny story that happened actually at the Borgata. We did a show. It was a week with Monty, but it wasn't the week you were there. It was me, Monty, and I don't remember who the other act was. And one day we're out at the pool outside, and you're a comic in a hotel for a week. You're going to get recognized.
Yeah.
And this woman came up to me, and, oh my God, you guys are so funny. And she grabs me by the hand. My mother loved you. And she starts dragging me to her mother on the lawn chair. All right. So this woman I'm talking to is about 60. She takes me to her mother, who's probably, I don't know. She's here because she missed the Titanic. Okay, that's how old she is. So I come over, and she's wearing jewelry, and she's laying out. She's like Naugahyde. She's so tanned and just, you know what I mean? And she goes, Ma, this is a comedian. And I said, Joe Starr. She didn't know my name. I said, Joe Starr. This is the comedian last night, Joe Starr. And the mother gives me like the dead fish to shake a hand, And this is exactly what she said while we're shaking hands, and she gives me this look. She goes, "You Italian?" And I said, "Actually, no, I'm not Italian. You're Jewish?" I go, "I'm not Jewish." We're still shaking hands. She goes, "Then I don't care. I don't care what you are." Right? And I'm still shaking hands. And I'm like, Jesus. And the daughter was so mortified. I'm still shaking the woman's hand, and the daughter's mortified. And she goes, "Well, I guess you know what my mom is." I go, "Yeah, but I'm not going to say it out loud in front of people." 15 lawn chairs of people left. Like 15 of them. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That was
amazing.
One of the coldest. I'll tell you the greatest backhanded compliment I ever got. I knew what the woman meant, but it came out wrong. I was working in the Improv in Vegas when it was there. I missed that room. So bad. But the Improv, after you did the shows there, all the comics would line up outside, and people buy T-shirts. We all autograph the T-shirts. We take pictures with them and all this kind of thing.
Right.
So the line is leaving the show. Everybody's leaving, and the last two people in line are a woman who's wealthy. She wanted you to know she had money. So she's wearing every piece of jewelry she ever had, and she's got a mink like stole over her shoulders. It's July in Vegas, and her husband is carrying her purse.
Oh my God.
So it's that kind of a woman. This guy hasn't spoken since Nixon. That's how long he hasn't said a word, not a word. So she comes out, and while she's shaking my hand, this woman says, this is a quote, "My husband and I never come to these places because they never have anyone good. But you're just as good as any real comedian I've ever seen."
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. My
comics
favorite
were like, damn. Like it was, and we couldn't go anywhere. We're behind the counter signing T-shirts. We can't go anywhere. I knew what she meant, but man, it was brutal. That was brutal.
I know. It's weird. Old people have the best fucking backhanded compliment. I remember doing this place called the Candlelight Theater in Delaware, and they have their older audience members that go to every show. This one table every fucking show, and one of them came up to me and she went, "I thought you were hilarious, but everybody else on my table didn't laugh. I can't imagine why." I was like, oh, man, I guess. She's like, "I no sense of humor, but me personally."
That's great.
Yeah. I was like, Jesus fuck, lady.
Wow.
These people not laughing. Me.
Did you get a number?
What? Just the one on her grave. That's the only one. Hey, we each have our own kinks. It's fine.
That's true, John. You live your truth, John.
Yeah,
live your truth.
Nobody's gonna necro shame you. You're fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I already look like a necromancer.
No, that's not what it means, John. A necromancer would be magic.
Oh, that's true. Right, but don't they raise the dead?
No,
right.
Yes, but necrophiliacs want them not to move, John. Do you understand?
That's right.
They want tranquility. They're looking for a piece of tranquility.
Oh, dude, I understand that part. I understand. If they would just shut up.
I'm gonna get you a dictionary for Christmas, okay? It's a book. It's a big book. You'll see a lot of words in it. A necromancer.
I'm gonna have to use it to go back and look at this interview.
I've been to the necropolis. That's a building, John. That's a building. This guy got his kinks. You don't even know what his kinks are.
All he knows is where he likes to stick it. That's it. It's weird. Jesus Christ. He's an animal.
Her headstone number. What's the matter with you?
I don't know.
That reminds me of a joke.
Okay.
Let me tell you, this is a very old joke. This is a great joke. It's an Irish joke. So in England and Ireland and Scotland, they treat cemeteries a little bit different than we do here. They'll have a picnic in the cemetery. The cemeteries are hundreds of years old. They're nobody new has been buried there in a long time. So they're all perfectly manicured and everything. So actually one Sunday morning, there's a guy still on a bender from Saturday night. And he's cutting through the cemetery to get home. And all of a sudden he kneels down, kind of squats down behind a headstone. This old woman comes in with flowers. The sun's just coming up. You can see to put him on her husband's grave. And she sees him like she thinks he's trying to hide behind this big tombstone. So she just looks over and she says, "Morning." And he goes, "Nope, just taking a shit." It takes a minute to get that one.
So great.
Solid setup.
Takes a minute.
I've never heard you tell me that, but that's fucking great. Morning,
John. I have thousands of jokes I've never told you.
Oh, I know. I can't. He sent me pictures of books over the. This was like porn, basically, but it was just. I mean, stacks and stacks. Most of them you were just cataloging, where you weren't even like you were not done with them yet. You're just like, well, these go here, these go here.
Yeah, what I did was for the last since COVID, it was March of last year when COVID started. Mm-hmm. There was a book, an old comedy book. Actually, it's a psychology book about comedy, and that I wanted. And I went, let me look on eBay. I'll read a book, because remember back at the beginning, we thought this was going to be weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get a book I haven't read, and I got it online. It was like $15. It was printed 1968. Okay, and I get it. I didn't know it was almost 1,000 pages long.
Wow.
And I start reading the book, and then that led into a whole year of collecting what ended up being collection on books on the psychology of humor and laughter, the philosophy of humor and jokes, and old joke books, very old joke books, not like truly tasteless jokes that came out in the 80s. But my oldest joke book is from 1882. Most of them were written in the teens and 20s. They're getting harder and harder to find, but people don't want them. They just, who really buys old books anymore if you're not a collector? So I got them at very low prices, and I just kept buying them as I found them. So now I had added up just the old joke books. I have, I think it's 22 of them, 22 or 23 of them, but I added up the jokes in them. And so in the last year, since last March, I've read 43,390 jokes.
Holy fuck.
Probably about 10,000 of them repeated. Many times.
Okay. Oh my God.
So, but I just read those, and I would tear through a joke book. Some of them have 5,000, 10,000 jokes in them.
Right.
So it would take me a week to get through them. And then I'd go and read a book on psychology of humor, and then the philosophy of humor, and comedy and ancient theater and Greece. And I've just filled my head for the last year with all of this stuff, because I'm such a historian, kind of.
So let me ask you this: since you've been reading all these jokes, what do you think of, what was it, like 5 years ago? They said they figured out what the funniest joke in the world was, and I think you've told me it before too.
But you
think it holds up?
You can't do that. You can't have a funniest joke. It's impossible.
Right.
You can't, because it's totally subjective. It's totally up to the listener whether or not it's funny.
Right.
It's art.
You can you can have a technically perfect joke. Like I think like Myron Cohen on one of his 2 albums, he has a bit called Long Coattails. It's probably the most perfect long story I've heard.
Ooh.
And it's about, I would think, maybe 7 minutes or 8 minutes. It's one joke. Right. You could write it in a paragraph, but he turned them into stories and would tell these big stories. But Long Coattails it's a long piece, but and it does have one line in there you couldn't do nowadays on stage. You couldn't do it at all, because he refers to a gay character, a gay person in it, by not the bad F word, but another slur, another thing that's not bad, but you couldn't do it now.
Right, sure.
And so some comedy has aged that way, especially in the books that I got. The ones from 1880. Right. Wow. You can't do those no more. Oh no. And not even close. And some of them I've actually began studying, going, can I re-engineer this joke? Like, can I change it? Because you don't need, when you hear like the in the 80s there was this, or the 70s and 80s, there was this big, the Pollock jokes, which was they were just what they called numbskull jokes or dimwit jokes from a century before.
Sure.
Nobody in the joke had to be Polish for the joke to work. And before it was Polish, the Irish in this country were considered the not too bright, and that there's always somebody.
Right. Every nationality had their dumb day in the sun.
But that's what a lot of the younger, this very touchy-feely, offended thing. And I understand it to a point, but there's a simple algebra to a joke. Every joke has to have a victim. It has to. The thing in the joke has to happen to someone or something. Somebody reacts to it happening. You need a victim. You can't tell a joke without a victim. It's impossible. Right. You can't have one. And sometimes it's the listener who's the victim of the joke. But you need, and that's what they're all, a lot of people now are sitting there waiting to be offended. So they hear a word and that's all they needed. And now they're offended. And then when you press them as to why, they shut it down by trying to blame you for your racism or homophobia or your misogyny. You know,
right.
I know these are big words and it's late, John. The dictionary's coming. So, but that's what I mean. They're waiting to get offended just because you say, you can't. It's almost like it's the 20s again. It's almost like it's vaudeville again. You can't say, I was talking to this broad. You can't say that.
Right.
They're going to get offended. And Broad was actually, if you said Broad on stage, you would be fired in vaudeville.
It's weird though. If you, I feel like if you flipped it and you turn the victim into hero, because really they're sacrificing themselves for the benefit and the enjoyment of the audience. So if you just,
in a way, yes. But what people are not what a lot of people are not accepting is the fact that a joke, if you're not telling a story that happened to you, an anecdote from your own life. If you're telling a joke, every joke happens encapsulated in this mystical world. It doesn't exist. When two guys walk into a bar and boom, 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 this, that, and the other thing, bang. When the joke ends, that whole world disappears.
Right.
The people in it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Poof, it's gone like smoke. But they get offended because they think because you used a certain word or a certain term, that you are either ignorant or you are just behind this movement of ganging on, jumping on to
being hateful.
Being hateful.
Do you find that it's usually not the groups themselves that are part of the joke getting offended, but people outside of that group getting offended for the specific group?
Yeah, I've been doing stand-up since 1989, 88, somewhere in there, 90, somewhere around there. I've never done racial stuff particularly. There's three things I never touch. I never touch sexuality, religion, or politics on stage. Yeah. Because the minute you basically kind of choose a side in a joke, you have a chance of losing at least 50% of the audience.
Yep.
So that's why I don't touch those three subjects. But racially, I've never really done anything racially on stage. I just don't talk about race.
Sure.
But no one in my life telling jokes and stuff at parties and stuff. I've never made a joke that had an Asian character in it and might come across as derogatory in some way to Asians. I've never had an Asian be mad at me for telling it.
Right.
Never. I've never told a joke about Mexicans and never had a Mexican ever be upset with me. Right. Now, there could be two reasons. One, because they're not offended. Or two, I know how to read a room and I'm not stupid.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But there's the problem is people thought, the Phyllis Diller story when she retired and the Queen Mother, she did a command performance in London.
Oh, no.
So, Phyllis kind of retired from stand-up.
Right.
Phyllis was a classically trained pianist. She was a great piano player, a phenomenal classically trained pianist. Right. And she kind of retired from stand-up. She wasn't performing. And then her agent or whatever was contacted. The Queen Mother, I don't think it was the Queen, but the Queen Mother wanted to see her perform and asked if she would come to London for like a kind of, I don't know if it's called a command performance when it's not the Queen who asked you to do it.
Right.
But it was her mother. I don't know. But so she was like, wow, I would love, because where we're going to do it. And it was at some hall. It wasn't at the big one, but it was at this nice hall with the London Symphony was going to play.
Wow.
Where they play. So she's thinking, she starts picking up Beethoven and Mozart and these big pieces. She flies over and walks in with all of her music.
Right.
She's like 3 days early, and this is what I want to play. And they go, oh, you play the piano? Yeah, why was I? She totally didn't understand. They wanted her to do comedy.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So she did half a stand-up and then half at the piano.
Wow.
So it was great. But afterwards, they interviewed her and asked, what is the difference? Because she did both in one show.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference between doing stand-up and playing the piano and with the orchestra? And she said, oh, I'll tell you the difference. They said the hall she played was like 4,000 people. Okay.
Wow.
She said, when I go out to play the piano and I sit down with a full orchestra and I start to play this part of the symphony, there is no one sitting in this theater that can do what I'm doing. I walk out to do stand-up comedy, I'm in front of 4,000 comedians. And that's absolutely right.
Yep.
Because people think it's so easy, because the better you are at it, the easier it looks. You'll see as you get better, and you'll find out. It'll happen. It'll happen. It'll happen. But people just think it's easy. And because they think it's easy, whenever you do a joke that has a victim of maybe some racial undertone into this joke, they immediately think, oh, well, obviously he's just either too ignorant to know it's wrong, or he's doing it because he means it. He agrees with putting down other people. And again, it's usually never the people that are in the joke. Like you were saying, it's never them. It's never them. But I mean, shy of, making fun of the dead, there's a chance they're going to be there,
It is interesting that people do often observe comedians and they just think that they're fucking lucky. They're like, that guy just got a lucky break on TV on Conan or doing, performing in front of whatever, as opposed to every other thing. When somebody paints a picture, it's fucking magic. If you can't paint, you're like, that's not real. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell did he that fucking man? But for whatever reason, personality, they don't understand that comedians are thinking 6 different things in the back of their head. Like, most of the time when you're on stage and you're telling jokes, you're not thinking of what you're saying. You're thinking of 6 other who did that and what's the next bit, and reading the fucking room.
You know why? It's because people, meaning civilians, they do not know the difference between funny and comedy. That's the difference. Because they had a funny uncle, or they're the funny person at work, or they had a friend in high school who was hilarious, or the mailman is hysterical. And they would say, you should be a comedian because that person is funny.
Right.
That person's funny. Comedy is structured funny. It's repeatable. It works again and again in front of different people that you don't even know. You have nothing in common with them other than you're in the same building.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. People don't understand the difference between funny and comedy. And they go, oh, you only work an hour a night. I hated that when I was doing the road. And I go, yeah, I did only work an hour tonight. In Des Moines. Okay, yes, I did. I happen to live in New York, half a country away from where we're standing. So I'm not with my family.
Right.
And the other 23 hours, I was in a motel room in a bad part of town with nothing to eat because that place didn't have a restaurant. So the only thing I'm eating is when I come here to the club, when the dishwasher comes to pick me up in his car reeking of pot, to take me back to the club so we could do the show, but he's got to pick me up at 5:30 because he's got to pick me up on his way to work. And the show doesn't start till 9. So they shouldn't know that. No, they shouldn't know that. I think it was Duke Ellington said something like, an audience shouldn't know if it's a flatted 5th or an extended 11th. They just got to know that shit swings. And it's right. The audience doesn't have to know the technicality of what you're doing. And it's the same thing with stand-up. They shouldn't be able to see the magic. They can't look behind the curtain, Right.
I was trying to. There's a great story that I love, and I'm trying to think of we both know what's the orchestra that does that's famous for the Christmas music every year? Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Their bus breaks down. You've heard this. I'm sure you've heard this many times, whatever. But it's just about showbiz, whatever. The bus breaks down, and they've got it's a blizzard, slush, snow everywhere, the whole thing, and they got to walk the rest of the way to the gig, and they're trudging. They're stuff's all soaked. They're dragging their instruments and everything because it's not that far. And they've come across this house and they see the big window and a beautiful family's on the inside and they're sitting down to eat or whatever. And just one of the band members looks at them and goes, ugh, how do people live like that? I love that.
Very good, Povo. That was a very good, well-told joke.
Thank you.
Look at you. There's one in a row. All right.
It's the only one I'm doing. I'm going out on top and undefeated in this.
You met your quota for June.
What is it? So you were talking about, you're the only person I know, the only comic I know who has a direct line to vaudeville, a direct connection to vaudeville. And
there aren't many of us.
No, you're the literally out of everybody I know. I think you're the only. I mean, you're the only one that has a pure direct line. Your grandfather.
My grandfather was a dancer in vaudeville in 1920s.
Which is
1920s. Yeah.
Which is funny because they always say, and this is, you've been reading the comedy psychology books, stuff like that, that it skips or kind of entertaining performance skips a generation. So nobody in your family between you and
my grandfather,
is a performer, right? And it's just you. And
right. Well, it does usually skip a generation. Like, for instance, your parents must be hysterical. So it does usually. It does usually skip. I've heard that it skips a generation. But my grandfather was my grandfather was born in 1900, and he came here from Puerto Rico in 1915 when he was 15 years old.
Right.
And to make his first monies, because he didn't speak English, because Puerto Rico had just become a Commonwealth in 1912 or 1913. So he didn't need a passport. So he came here and he made his money dancing. That's what he did, and that's what got him into vaudeville. I think honestly, Greg Vaccarello, which is pronounced Vacariello, lives in Vegas, great comic from New York. And Greg, I believe, had a great aunt that was in vaudeville, or an aunt that performed in vaudeville, because vaudeville kind of was over by it was dying once television kind of popped up, but 1951, I think, or 53, the last vaudeville house closed. So in the 40s, it was already dying. Radio heard it, and then television and talkies heard it.
Right.
So,
there wasn't really that much. What we consider stand-up was non-existent back then, right?
Stand-up, technically, the first stand-up comic in the United States. I don't know if this happened in England or in France, but the first guy to really be the prototype stand-up comic is Frank Fay, a very disliked, despised human being.
Wow.
He was incredibly racist. He had an ego like crazy, and everybody knew it. Like George Burns always said, everybody hated him. I didn't mind him when he was on stage, but once he got to the wings, I was just like everybody else. Like not even George Burns liked him. But back then, if you talk about the 19 teens, early 20s, I mean, really, 19 teens, really, he was the first one not doing an accent, because everybody was a dialect comic, and comedy didn't happen unless you were in a team.
Wow.
Everybody had a team. He was the first guy to stand alone in one, which meant the curtain remained closed. He came out in front of the curtain to a microphone and just performed, not with an accent, not with a clown costume, in a suit, and just delivered stand-up. So he's kind of a monologue. That back then they were called monologists. So Frank Fay was really the first prototype stand-up comic.
Right.
He just happened to be a despised human being, but that's the reason. If it was George Burns, you would have known about it. George was loved.
So he was also the first podcaster, technically, without the first
kind of
comedian /
Yes.
That's great. But then I guess the stand-up that we kind of modern stand-up. I'm trying to think, because I know you would know, but what was it? It wasn't. Did it start with not even.
Well, it started with him, and then it was. You had also Will Rogers.
Who told their first personal stories? That didn't start till when? Because it was mostly just almost like a shared act, right?
Well, vaudeville, a lot of guys bought what they call chap books. I have some that I've collected in the last year. Like I said, they're very small books of the hottest new jokes being done in vaudeville. Wow. And they would write them up. And, you had different vaudeville. You had like some of the smaller, lower level. You had 9, 12 entertainers on a show, out of which maybe 4 were comedians or 3 were comedians, doing 7 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, 6, 7 times a day, 6 days a week. And because there was no television, no radio, there were guys doing, like the big guys that would do 12 or 14 minutes toward the end of the show, the big headliners. They could do the same exact 12 minutes for 20 years.
Good Lord.
And never be seen by the same audience.
Wow.
That's how much traveling there was. That was the reason that Jerry didn't want to do when they gave him Colgate, when they offered Martin and Lewis the Colgate Comedy Hour to be the permanent hosts.
Right.
For tremendous money. Dean immediately said yes, as Jerry said no. Immediately. And Dean was like, why? And it turned out Jerry had a conversation with Buster Keaton because they offered Keaton his own series, which he eventually did do. He needed the money. But they asked for him, and back then a season was 39 weeks, not 22 like now.
Wow.
It was 39 episodes a year, okay? And Keaton said no immediately. And they said, why? And he told Jerry, no matter how many gag writers you have, you're going to burn out within weeks. You can't come up with that much material for 39 half hours. Never mind hours. Colgate Comedy Hour was an hour. But Buster was going to get a half-hour show. You can't come up with that much. So Jerry did the math, and he figured out in one airing of the Colgate Comedy Hour, the amount of people that saw it on television would have taken about 100 years in vaudeville.
Oh, wow!
In one hour, you gave away. That's why I tell younger comics, don't put every new setup on YouTube. Do not put it on your page. Don't, because it's never going to come down.
Right.
And so when somebody looks you up in 5 years from now when you're working, and they go, "Oh, John Poveromo," and they look, well, you're a bad example. No. Let me explain why. Like if you get some young comic and then they're really not good,
right?
And then in 6 years now they're working. They're actually getting middle stuff. They're closing some rooms, and somebody looks their name up, and they find 3 older clips. They're not going to hire him.
Absolutely.
You know, you're a bad example because you've never changed. You are right where you were the day I met you.
Straight through.
That there's something to be said for that. There's some for that. I mean, the way you've avoided getting better at every turn is amazing. It shows you're humble, John. It shows you're humble.
I just try to change my appearance every now and again. That's what I thought was what you were supposed to do.
Sure.
I can see. I just wanted thicker glasses.
John's also doing the same 12 minutes for 20 years.
Exactly.
Vaudeville John. That's what I'm calling you from now on.
You know what? John. Those MapQuest jokes still hit.
Sure. Oh, my MySpace song, Closer.
My MySpace song.
Closer. Let me tell you.
That's great.
Sure.
Oh, shit.
I got a whole bit about You Got Mail. Oh, yeah. Oh,
I used to work with a comic who every fucking time I'd see him, he would do Clinton blowjob jokes. And I would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
man?
right. Yeah.
Anything, you know. And he would
actually a little. Yeah.
Oh, I know. And he would preface it by telling the audience he knows that they're out, but then still go into it anyway. And I'd be like, what the fuck? Why?
He actually told them he knew
they
were
he
was an antique dealer.
This is a classic.
You're gonna love this, folks. You got a little lever on your table. I want you to pull it. We're gonna go back to 1990. Oh, you could make a Casey and Case impression work with that. I think that would be really great.
Wow.
Oh, that's fucking hysterical. Yeah, they used to drive
I could see the merchandise too. Dial up. Huh?
Hey, everybody, I'm selling rotaries after the show. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just brutal, man. That's the thing, man. If you don't, you said something to me the first time because I took
get away from me. I think that's what it was. Enough already. No, it was enough already. I said enough already.
Enough already.
Enough.
I know. I was in your pockets. It was.
Don't talk to me till you get a haircut, young man.
You got any hard candy? Where do you keep your jokes? I was very tiny. I was very, very tiny. I've grown an inch since, but
wait, that reminds me of a joke.
Oh, God.
There's a comic who gets a gig at a senior place, you know, and he doesn't want to do it. He's heard their nightmares, and the people say, "Look, all you got to do is 45 minutes. You know, it's $1,500. 2 in the afternoon." Oh, the guy, okay, I can't say no to that. So he shows up. And it happens to be a senior place that's a recovering, that specializes in people with memory problems as you get older. So, you know, just everybody has it. So he gets up in front of like 300 of these people, 2 in the afternoon. And he does his first joke, and they're great. They love it. He relaxes a little. Oh, goodness. All right. And he figures, well, let me see how bad their memory is. He takes a sip of water, a long pause. Then he tells the same exact joke again. Screams, even bigger than the first time he told it. He figured, no way. Am I going to get away with this? He does it a third time. They're pounding the tables. This is going to be easy. So about halfway through his 45 minutes, repeating the same joke over and over and over again, he notices one old guy in the back of the room. He's got this scowl on his face, and he keeps looking at his watch. And he goes, oh, no, this guy's on to me. So he does the same joke for 45 minutes. He finishes. He gets paid. The guy's heading for the parking lot. He just wants to get out of there. And here comes the old guy. Excuse me, comedian. Excuse me. There's something I want to ask you. And I go, oh, geez. Yes, sir. He goes, I watched your whole show. Now, how do you remember all that material? Okay, what were you going to say, John?
I don't even. Doesn't even matter anymore. Yes. I don't even know.
It worked.
What was I fucking gonna say? I don't even. Oh no. Oh, I was gonna say no. I kind of remember now. This is always good. We'll cut this part out of the show.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody who does that, but we'll fix it in post. It's just me, and it depends on if I'm lazy enough or not. Really, it's all up to me. The guy who's editing this is a real fucking son of a bitch, though. It's me. No, I was gonna say when I met you, you said a lot of stuff, but I took a comedy class. You said a lot of things, and I did, but you came at the very end to talk to us about, what it takes to be in this business, and you rattle off like hey, if you don't like traveling and long hours and being but everything that was supposed to be not discouraging, but just supposed to be somewhat like, hey, this is the reality of it. It's off-putting. I was going, yeah, no, I want to do all of that. I was like, don't mind the travel, same clothes, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't know. You never know, but I really had a strong feeling that you had. I'm serious now. I'm not going to break your job. You had the gun. You had this drive because all you wanted to do was learn and get better. That's all you wanted to do. And you could see it in some comedians, not just young ones, but I just mean newer. There's some people come to stand up who are 50, Yeah. But if they have to be like a sponge, they've got to want to know more, and they've got to have that gene to always try and get better. If you don't have those two things, you're starting in a deep hole, a really deep hole.
Yeah. You
have to have those two things to learn and have a drive to get better. You have to. There's no other reason to be in it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're saying that when you start, you're as good as you have to be. And that's it.
I was going to say,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. I never understood the dudes who already came into it, no matter what age, like you said, who just think they're it. They've reached the point. They're already good enough.
Yeah. That's fear.
Why? Yeah.
That's absolute fear. That's fear. Yeah. They're walking in ego first.
Right.
Just being cocksure of themselves as immediate deflection, like a shield of, I don't have to listen to you because I already know.
Yeah.
And so I give comics 3 rebuttals, 3. And that's my limit. When if somebody comes to me for advice, if a comic said, like you did, would you watch my set? And the first thing I said to you was, all right, but I'm going to really tell you what I think of it. Don't ask me for advice if you don't want to listen. Yeah. So if somebody asks me something about it, even a bit, some new comic will say, hey, did you see the new bit? It killed tonight. I go, yeah. Did you notice anything? Or maybe I could change or something? So they're asking for advice. And I'll say something like, well, the beginning here, you really went a little far. You should pull back. And if they explain it away, well, I do that because of this, and this. Oh, okay.
Right.
And then I give them a second one. The third time I tell you something and you explain it away, after that, for the rest of your career, I absolutely agree with you.
No, that makes sense. They don't really want the advice. They just want reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly. And that's annoying as shit. So, I saved what you wrote to me the first time. And one of the things that I loved was you went, because it was 5 minutes. It was at Caroline's, and you went, he goes, you're funny. You go, you're funny. You got material. Nice. He goes, but move the fucking mic stand. For the love of God. He goes, get on stage, move the fucking mic stand. He goes, if you do this again, and I see that in front of you on stage, and I swear to God, from that moment on, all I could hear was what you, and I began on stage.
Yeah. Get it out of the way. Yeah.
And then there was, even years later, man, there was, God, it must have been when I was out in LA or whatever it was, but I gotten into a bad habit. You know what it is, I think, but I got into a bad habit of leaning on the mics, and you were like
hanging on the mic stand.
You're like, he was like, I'll break your fucking arm if I see you leaning on the, and it was what?
You know why? This is why.
Mm-hmm.
There's the phrase practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's an absolutely incomplete sentence. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice doing something wrong, you're going to get great at fucking it up.
Right.
Yeah. You have a proper. Now, if you hang on the mic stand just as a habit and never fix it, and then you get the Tonight Show where there's not even a microphone in your hand,
right?
You're fucked. Because then you're terrified.
Yeah.
So it's a sloppy habit. It's just like, Seinfeld had always said, if you're writing, why would you write a joke you can't do on the Tonight Show?
Right.
Why would you work it out and get it to work if you couldn't do it? Because back then, everybody was aiming for the Tonight Show. That was his point. Yeah. Well, everybody was aiming for that. But it is true. I mean, if you're going to write a bit that's, that you could never do on television, but that's also changed because now there's so much cable.
Yeah.
And not even pay cable. TBS, a TNT, you can do some heavy language stuff and some heavy language stuff or subject matter you want to. HBO, it's free reign. It's right. With Showtime. You do whatever you want. So that has changed. It's a wider area that you can hit with comedy. But you can always blew it up. You can always you can always add what you want. The joke itself should be a well-written piece.
Right.
You can always, that's, I always tell everybody, it's like golf. It's like golf. You have your swing. Your swing is your swing. You don't change your swing. No matter what your situation is, you change your club. You don't change the swing.
Right.
Swing is the swing. So you as a persona, your persona on stage, not you, but a comedian on stage, then you have your swing. You have your persona. You have your thing. You don't change that.
Yeah,
you can change the way you deliver material. You could change the way you're putting it and the verbiage and the different words you're putting into it. But you're you. You can't change you. You shouldn't. Yeah. I know guys that act differently in different bits, like they're a totally different comic.
Yeah,
and there's no consistency there. They haven't found their voice yet. That's what that is. They're trying to find their persona, the way they want to come across on stage.
Yeah, and that's
not you. I'm talking about professionals.
Right.
People with a future and a glimmer of hope in their career.
Right. I'm just hoping for a hair commercial. That's all I need. And then then it's adios amigos into the sunset. That's all. That's all I'm doing. What do you, the TV thing? Because I know that so you started.
What do you part your hair with? An M80? I mean, really? How do you get a comb in there? What do you use? A hatchet? I'm just asking. What do you run into an open door frame? Just wham right in the head.
I love the image of an M80. Just blow back. Oh, that'd be hilarious. I might go for a hair. The woman who usually cuts my hair called me and she was like, "Are you coming in?"
I quit.
She's having a baby. She's like, I can't do this for much longer. Do you want to come in tomorrow? And I was like, I don't know. I sometimes I want to get it cut, and then other times I'm like, let's just see what happens.
Well, at this point, they would have to bury you up to your neck and run you over with a lawnmower.
I'm clipping all these and I'm putting them together. It's gonna be it's gonna be its own section. Oh my god. Fuck. I'm thinking, you started in 88, right?
You somewhere around there, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, 90, 91.
And people were still looking for the TV spots, basically, at this point. Now that not that they're not doing that anymore, but like you just said, there's no point, there's no point, but I mean, it doesn't do what it normally does.
It was special when there was two of them, when it was Carson and Letterman, and that was it.
Right. But did it seem like it? Did it seem homogenous back then, or does it only seem? Because it seems like that to me now. Like I could literally walk out of the room, and there could be 6 different comedians that have come on, but they all fucking sound the same to me when they're on TV. Because it seems like people have figured out a cadence, the rhythm. Like it. But was it like that then too? No, I didn't think so. No.
Not that I noticed, but you're right. It's become almost like pop music, where you know the top 10 songs you could interchange all the singers on them. It's the same, you know. It doesn't. But everybody was kind of. Now I got to be careful because I'm looking back now, knowing who's still around. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. While it was going on, maybe a great many of them did sound alike. But the reason for that was you had like Eddie Brill, great comic, who was in charge of casting the stand-ups for Letterman.
Yes.
So Eddie he was looking for a not specific type of comic, but some edgier, some newer, unknown kind of guys, but had in a way a similar edge to them because it fit Dave's audience.
Yeah, but didn't Romano get his big break on Letterman? Because he's not. I wouldn't consider him edgy though, right? Or like a Letterman type.
No, but Ray was one of the most. He was like this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. He was like a breath of old air because he was so familiar. His style and his material was so familiar to everyone who watched because he had a very old school set of material and an old school laid back kind of delivery. He was the put upon guy with the wife and the twins and the house and the mortgage and his parents nearby. What his show was based on was his stand-up. And so he was like the last guy through that door, a very home a sitcom. He was like the last kind of sitcom like that with the big ensemble cast.
Right.
It was a fairly big ensemble and everybody carried their weight, you know?
Right. Yeah. The first, his Letterman appearance, he tells a joke on Letterman that is in the first episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, because it was all based. Yeah, it was all based on his stand-up. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if you've seen. Were you a fan of like Kinison and those guys when they were?
I'm a fan of anyone. I mean this, who's performing comedy,
right?
Coming from a place of comedy, not that they're trying to be funny. Not that they heard something and they're going to slap together some pieces and do it on. If you really come from a world of comedy, I like Sam's particular type of comedy, like Dice Clay. That's not my vein of comedy. I'm me. I'm all my idols were in black and white when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, it was Jack Benny and Milton and Martha Ray and like really old school comic till I was 10. I didn't know you were allowed to shoot comedy in color. I thought it had to be in black and white. And people would break my chops. I'd go, don't you watch Happy Days? And I swear, I said, yeah, but that's not comedy. And what I meant was it was so formulaic. Even when I was a kid, I would outguess the punchline. I would get there before I just saw where it was going. I understood comedy. I was not just a fan of comedy when I was a kid. I was studying it. I would watch Chaplin or Keaton, and I would go, wait, why did he do that? And I would replay it in my head because we didn't have VCRs yet. And I would replay. I'd get up and do it physically. I would do physical bits of comedy to try and figure out why they did that next. And I was always studying comedy. Not just liking it, but. And
I liked to your point when you were saying about like you appreciate anybody who gets up there and performs or whatever, because it's the same way I describe like everybody always goes in two corners, whether you're a Marx Brothers guy or a Stooges guy or whatever. I can appreciate the Stooges, I understand where they're coming from, but I love the Marx Brothers. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
And that's
totally different, totally different way of working, but both started in vaudeville. I mean that was and in theater. The Marx Brothers were smart in that they worked out any gags for their films they took on the road first and did them in theaters.
Right.
And then brought them they worked out and then brought it back to the studio and shot it on film.
See, and can I say, I'm going to give you another compliment. You're the only other guy I know in this business who also got to work and befriend their idols.
Yeah, there's not many because Yeah, no, I meant you mean Jerry. Jerry Lewis.
Well, yeah, Jerry, and also I'm thinking of Chris Rush too, because there's you and Jerry.
Oh yeah,
so you got
that's me and JL. Yeah,
yeah.
That was me
Which
and
I love that
JL.
photo, by the way. Did you? Was that whose
that
idea
was Max took that? That was backstage at the Westbury Music Fair on Long Island. Jerry had just done his show, and I was backstage. And Max, who had a bad leg because his stroke he had, he said, "I'm going to take a picture." Now JL, when he sat down, he was very old. He was 86, 87 at that point. So when he sat, he shrank, he disappeared into the chair. So I squatted all the way down next to him, and Max tried to line up the camera. So Max put his back to the wall and was sliding down the wall, trying to get even with me and Jerry. And it was going to be a perfect picture. But then Max almost slipped and fell on his ass on the floor. And that picture is the middle of JL going, "Are you kidding me?" That's exactly what that is. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. That's so fun. Great.
Yeah. There aren't many people who like I said, my idols were old. They were
right.
I knew, Alan King. I knew Alan King really well.
I was going to say Alan King and Alan King, Chris
and
Rush, and Robert Klein.
Well, I've worked with Robert a lot.
You worked with Robert a lot, but was he one of your idols when you started, or was he more like? This is embarrassing. He was, but I didn't know it was him because my friends' parents had the albums. Okay,
and I listened to it, but I never knew who it was.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And I would memorize the bits. And then I'm doing stand up, and then you want to open, because me and Robert had the same manager at one time. You want to open for Klein? It's sure. Oh yeah, great. I knew him as a name and a legend. And then when I met him, as soon as he spoke to me, I went, "Oh my God, it's the guy from the records." And I realized I didn't know that I was an idol, that he was an idol of mine.
Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah. I opened for him I'll tell you this story. I never told you this story. Okay. I was opening for every time I see him, he always says, "Are you related to Mike Starr?" Now, Mike Starr is a ubiquitous actor. He's been, another big word, dictionary coming. He's been in a million things. He was in Goodfellas, and he was the one who worked at the airport, who gave him the keys. You walk in, there's nobody there. Is there security? I'm it. That's Mike Starr. Mike's been in everything.
Everything.
Right. And there's a physical likeness to us, big cookie jar head. We look the same. So I get from some casting people have asked me, "Are you Mike's brother?" Because Mike has a brother. So they ask me if I'm the brother. So every time I see Klein, he'd ask me, "Are you Mike Starr's?" No, I'm not. Every time he asks me, we have the same manager. I've worked with him, a dozen times. But there's one night we're at a theater in Jersey, and I did really well. When you open for somebody like Klein, it's his audience. The hardest person I ever opened for was Soupy Sales. That was the hardest person to open for, because he had diehard fans, literally, for 60 years.
Wow.
They did not want to see some young kid up there. They wanted to see Soupy. So it was the same thing with Klein. Usually his fans are his fans. But this one magic night, man, I hit it hard, and it was great. I felt good. So then there's an intermission. I come off, and the house is going to bring him up from the, the voice of God is going to bring him up. But I want to go back out there. I just, I did great. Yeah. So there's 20 minutes, and he comes out of his dressing room. And as I come off, and he goes, "What did you do to my audience?" And I go, what do you mean? He goes, "You just killed." And he's straightening out my jacket for me. And he was so happy for me. It was really nice. He said, "You killed. That was so wonderful." I said, Thanks, Robert. It was great. They're wonderful. They're going to love you. This is such a great night. And so then I go, "So how are you going to go out? Are they going to introduce you? Is somebody going to introduce you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think they're going to do it from the house." And I go, "Don't you think I should introduce you?" Yes, you should. He grabs a stage manager and he goes, Joe's going to go back out there and introduce me." So I'm in the wings, and they're getting ready to bring up the spot to follow me out to the mic. And Robert was fixing my tie for me. And he's just fixing my tie. And I said, "What do you want for your introduction? Like, what movie's coming out?" He always has a movie coming out. Yeah. So he says, this, that, and the other thing, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "And then tell them that I'm your biggest idol, and I'm the reason you got into show business." and he's still fixing my tie. And I go, "Well, that's true, Robert." And he goes, "What?" I said, you're the reason I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And there's a long pause where he's looking at me, and I went, well, if you're going to fuck with me, I'm going to fuck with you. And he choked me with my tie, going like that. So then he smacks me on the face, and he goes, go introduce me. So I go out. I get out 2 steps into the wings and onto the stage, and the spot hits me, and I get an ovation, like this big round of applause. And I turn to Klein. He's 3 feet behind me in the dark in the wings, and I go, just get comfortable. I'll be a minute. And so I take my time walking out to the mic. I get to the mic. I go, it is so great you decided to stay. Everybody laughs. I said, because I get to bring up a really great comedian, a legend in the business. You might have seen him in this and this. You could see him in this upcoming movie, this. The reason I got into stand-up comedy, Mr. Robert Klein. And the lights go black. Black.
Wow.
Bob Stein, his keyboard player, comes out on stage right, comes out to the piano, sits down in the dark, and I'm standing pitch black on stage. And then the follow spot that brought me out there now opens, and bang, it hits him in the wings. And Robert comes out walking right at me. Now he's coming to the mic. I got to get away from the mic.
Right.
And I have to pass him. And I had a moment that I didn't know in show business law. Do I reach into his spotlight to shake his hand? So I didn't know what to do. So I'm just passing him, and I'm kind of saying, have fun. And he reached, this was generous. He reached out of his spotlight to shake my hand.
Wow.
That was very generous. And then he goes, watch this, asshole. And walks right past me. And commences to destroy for an hour and a half.
Wow. Holy shit.
But he reached out, which was that was the kindest thing an entertainer could do, because he knew I was confused about what do I do? You know, he can see me. The audience can't. I'm standing right in front of him. But he reached out of his spotlight to shake my hand.
That's incredible.
Thank you, Robert. Have fun. Yeah, watch this, asshole. And walked right past me. Oh, it was so great.
That is great.
So I love Klein.
And then you did is that after that? Then you did like to the TV spots with him too, right? Because you did
New Joke City.
Yes,
I can't believe you brought that up. Yeah, New Joke City.
Yeah, I'm bringing it all up.
Yeah, that was on the Metro channel. That doesn't exist anymore. Oh yeah, New Joke City. Yeah, that was a fun. He hosted all of those. That was a 3-comic or 4-comic show. It was a showcase.
Was that the original Gotham room? The one before the move?
Yes. Yeah, it was in the original Gotham.
Metropolitan room, right? I think now it's called or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I remember I got to do that.
Once they closed, John, I don't go back. Why would I go back? Why would I go back to a place that closed?
Of course. Well, they usually close after they hang my picture on the wall, and then the building cracks. As soon as I start getting paid at a place, they're like, and we're done here, right? We packing it in? The owner's here. He wants to know why Poveromo's on the wall.
What do we do? Get down to the bottom of the barrel? No, we had to move the barrel. We're digging now. We hit Poveromo.
We're at the end of the alphabet.
3 more feet, we might hit oil.
Oh my God! So wait, so you got Robert Klein, you got Jerry Lewis, and you got Chris Rush. Amazing friendship with Chris Rush, who I love. I got to go to the tribute show that you guys did.
Yeah.
Which was incredible to be at, by the way. Thanks for inviting me, because it was just a collection of literally all of the Long Island guys, everybody that appreciated him. A great, beautiful montage video of his work. Some of it that I had never even seen before, which was just really cool, because I'm sure, people always have footage and stuff like that from back in the day, but it was interesting to see it. And how did that friendship begin? Like, was that something that you orchestrated or something that happenstance?
No, I met Chris. I was booked out of the blue at a place in Jersey, a restaurant actually, with him on a Wednesday night. I was emceeing, so it was like 1990. I think it was 92. It was way back at the beginning, 92 and 92, 93, somewhere in there. And went and picked him up in Queens. And of course, I knew who he was.
Right.
And he got in the car, and he always felt, because he didn't drive, he always felt to make it fair, you're driving. His job was to make you laugh from the moment he got in the car until you got to the gig, and then make you laugh from getting to the gig until the show started.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd go up and just be masterful and then come off and then make you laugh in the car all the way back home. That's what many times we almost crashed. Many times we almost crashed because he was just that funny. He was a literal genius. He was a research molecular biologist. He gave it up to become a comedian and was the most, he was he ad-libbed lines that after knowing him for years, I could write lines like that for him, but it would take me a week. And he would just ad-lib it. One time, me and Joe Bronzy went to see Chris at the apartment. And we show up, and Bronzy had just gotten a haircut, had his glasses on, kind of a cardigan sweater over a turtleneck, khaki pants. Me, my hair was still black then, black leather jacket, black jeans, and I'm, broad shoulders and big neck. He opens the door and he goes, "Oh my God, yuppie hitman." While one works you over, the other one fucks up your stock portfolio. Come on in. It was just like that.
Right.
But he was notorious for that. Yeah. He was just a joy of energy. And I worked with him as he was developing his one-man show, which is actually let me move this way. That poster over my shoulder, that one eye.
Yeah, it's the one. I love that poster.
No, not that way. This way. There it is.
Go.
Yeah, Laughter is the Sound of Bliss. That was from his one-man show, that poster.
Right.
And he was wearing, George Carlin was backing that show. He was very good friends with Carlin. And that's how I had conversations with George was when I was with Chris. And Chris was working on that at the old Gotham. An entire summer, we did the late show Saturday. I did a half hour. The Chris went up and did an hour. And he worked out all the material. And then we'd talk about it after the show and, put the bits together for what he wanted to do.
I am trying to find, if you look while I'm looking down, I'm trying to find that picture of you two. I love it, but it's not, you've got your stuff very well hidden, my friend, of you guys on the, I just tried to go through your photos and I'm like, it's all gone. Where is it?
I'm not stupid.
I know. You're very good with that. But yeah, there's a great photo of you two cracking up on his lawn. I love that photo. It's just two comics hanging out, enjoying each other's company. It's a beautiful photo.
I don't know why I didn't send it to you.
I've got all the ones of you and X and Jerry.
Oh man. Well, yeah.
In the movies. Because I still got, I'm not letting you go. I mean, I know we're I'll cut this part out too. We're 15 minutes over, but you're not going anywhere.
I'm here.
Unless you say it. But I always try to let people know in case they need an out. But you're the first guest I've had that I'm telling I'm not letting them go.
You'll know if I want to leave because I'll leave. I won't even say goodbye. I'll just get up and walk away.
I know you got to find that pic. That's a great pic, though. Yeah, the stories that you've told me of Rush are just fucking priceless. They're hilarious. One of my favorites is just how many times you said he'd pick up the phone and
I'll tell you something funny.
Oh, please.
I bought him he was a research molecular biologist. He was also a bit of a hypochondriac.
Right.
But not in the average way. The average way is I have a cough. Let me look at WebMD. Oh my God, I have tuberculosis. Right.
Yeah.
Not him. Being a research molecular biologist, understanding pathogens and viruses, he could actually convince himself scientifically that he was sick. So I bought him a textbook, good 1,000 pages, of the 10 newest, deadliest diseases.
And
I gave it to him. And one night, I was single, and my phone rang at like 3:30 in the morning. Now he was notorious for going to bed at 5 in the morning and getting up right before Oprah came on. That was his thing. So he about 3:30 in the morning, the phone rings, and I pick up. I see his number. I'm like, Chris, what's the matter, Chris? And he's whispering. His girlfriend's name's Megan. And he's whispering. He goes, Starr, what? Megan's got Ebola. I could tell she's laying right next to him. I go, Chris, she doesn't have Ebola. She fucking does, Starr. She's got all the fucking symptoms. She does not have Ebola, Chris. She does, you asshole. She's got it. Listen, let me read you this page. So he starts reading me the page of the symptoms, none of which she has.
Oh, God.
And he goes, now, here's the killer. Here's the killer. Could be asymptomatic. Do you understand, Starr? I know she's got it because she's not showing me any fucking signs.
Holy shit.
So I'm laughing, and then click, he just hangs up. That's all. I'm wide awake laughing my ass off for no reason, and he's going to bed.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he was notorious for that.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of. That's the greatest thing about. It's the reason I got into stand-up. I always knew I'd be in show business. Mm-hmm. I did not get into comedy to do stand-up specifically or to be an actor specifically. I got into it because of a moment I saw of the Rat Pack, where Frank walked down front to sing a nice ballad, and Sammy and Dean were up at the piano. And Dean leaned over and whispered something in Sammy's ear as he was lighting a cigarette. And then Sammy just kind of stopped and doubled over with laughter, but not out loud, not to disrupt Frank. Frank's singing a ballad. And he just gave Dean this look, and Dean gave him, there was a moment there.
Yeah.
Now, Frank is Frank, Sinatra.
Sure.
But I wanted to know, what did Dean say?
Yeah.
That is what I got into show business for, the being in the wings and the dressing room and backstage, the green room, to be on the set between the takes.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I love that. I love that. When it's for us, when it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this podcast. So where you just do it because it's for us. It's us to have a good time.
Yeah.
And you could say what you want, and
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Also to make your idols or your friends laugh. If you make somebody laugh, I mean, come on. My friend Jen Kober, great comic.
She's great.
Great comic. She's doing some television thing right now. She's being a little vague about what it is, I think, specifically, but she's shooting a big thing. And today she posted that she made Lainey Kazan laugh today.
Wow.
Lainey Kazan. And Connie Stevens was there. I mean, you're talking, this is show business.
Yeah.
Those are the reasons that I'm in it. It's for those things. For the time I have a memory of Jerry Lewis. I flung a handful of pigs in a blanket at Jerry Lewis.
Holy shit.
Who has that memory?
Right.
So that's, I made Jerry laugh. I made Max Alexander laugh. Was my, my another big brother of mine that we lost. But when I made Max laugh, like to his core, what could be better than that? That's getting your master's degree, your black belt. Oh, that's a great picture of Max and Jerry. That picture was taken with the camera resting on my shoulder.
Wow.
So there were three of us were there. That was the day I met Jerry, actually.
That was at the Friars Club.
Friars Club, right after he had turned 85. And he came to New York. And that's how we got our nicknames, actually, the three of us. I became Fennel. Max became Cabbage. And Jerry was Flavin, which everybody thinks is a word that Jerry made up. Flavin is not a word he made up.
He didn't?
It's an Irish brand of oatmeal.
Get the fuck out of here. I didn't know that.
You could look it up right now, man. You'll find a nice tin can of Flavin. FLAHAVA.
Holy
Flavin almost.
Fucking shit.
Yeah, that's where Jerry got the word Flavin. It's from that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So and I became Fennel because Jerry opened the menu, well, the big card menu at the Friars Club. And he's looking at it, he's reading, we're all looking at the menus. And it was Jerry, Max, me. And Jerry's looking at the menu and he goes, What's fennel? And Max said, it's a plant. It's a plant. Was it an herb? No, it's not an herb. It's a vegetable. It's looks like a celery root, and it's got green fronds on it, and you eat it.
Yeah.
He goes, it says it's in the salad. He goes, yeah. Some people put, fennel in the salad. And Jerry looks at me. He goes, have you ever had fennel? And I said, sure, I've had fennel. Oh. And then really loud, without changing his face, he screams, What kind of a cocksucker names a vegetable fennel? Screams it. So the whole dining room at the Friars Club looks at the table, and everybody else was used to that except me. This was the day I met him.
Right.
So everybody's looking at the menus, and I'm the only idiot like this. So they think I yelled it.
Oh my God.
So then he kept referring to me as Fennel after that.
That's great.
And he told me at one point, he goes, Fennel, that's your name now. That's it. You're Fennel. You're Fennel. And then the cabbage thing was Max became Cabbage because Max and I had a conversation that he was telling Jerry about that we were wondering if there was a one-word joke. Could there be one? Is there one word that if you say it, it's funny, period?
Right.
So we went through thousands of words over months, me and Max. And finally one day Max called me, he goes, cabbage. And I just laughed. And he goes, that's it. It's cabbage. Cabbage is the word. So then he tells Jerry the conversation and Jerry goes, so what's the word? And Max goes, cabbage. And the way he said it, and JL went, yeah, it's cabbage. Just the same way I said it. So Max became that. And then Flavin was already, because, Jerry. And he was, there it is. And God. He told me, he goes, I didn't make up that word, Wow. And I said, you did? I thought Flavin was your word. He goes, no, it's an oatmeal. I had no idea. Wow. So then when we spoke in the future after that, we referred to each other as Fennel, Cabbage, and Flavin. Yeah.
Did he ever tell you about, because this is something that I always wanted to know if it was planned or not, and I feel like you would know for sure. Was he genuinely surprised when Frank brought Dean out?
Yes.
He was.
Yeah, he did. Well, that's what me and Max knew, was that he was not, he did not know that. Frank kept that so secret. Not even anybody in the MDA knew about it.
Oh,
nobody.
Wow.
Frank called the head of the broadcast out of New York, I think, first.
Right.
And told him, tell every network, because it wasn't like now where everybody was getting the same feed at the same exact time.
Right.
But he said, make sure that every major hub is live in Vegas at whatever it was, 8:15. I'm talking everybody has to be live. And it's Sinatra telling you that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be live. So everybody, he called every affiliate was live. They snuck Dean. It was Frank walked in with like 5 guys out of the limo. Dean had a hat pulled down. He had his thing up on his collar up on the jacket. Nobody knew he was there.
Wow.
Snuck him all the way to the wing. No one knew until Frank started to say, I got a friend here who believes in what you do. He just wanted to say hi. Will you send out my friend, please? When he said, I have a friend here, that's when he took off the hat and the jacket. The people in the wings like, oh my God, it's Dean. And nobody knew. Nobody knew except Frank and Dean. That was it. Frank, Dean, and the other guys in the car. That was it.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So
I always
Jerry
wondered.
had no idea.
Because I know he liked to be in control of everything. So I was always curious of how.
That's why, and he said it in interviews, the thought that when people asked him, what were you thinking when you saw Dean? And he always said it was, the thought that went through his head was, this is the bravest thing I've ever seen a comedian, an entertainer do.
Wow.
Because Dean walked right into the center of Jerry's world.
Mm-hmm.
It's the middle of the telethon. It's Jerry's world. Jerry is all over this thing. He walked right to the heart of the kingdom, right into the middle of it on live television. And didn't know. Jerry could have screamed "fuck you" and walked away.
Yeah,
But people thought there's also a sugar-coated in a way mystique that Jerry was very careful about how he was perceived in the breakup afterwards. When he always said Dean and I didn't talk from the breakup onward, which is not true. They were on stage together 2 or 3 times at like somebody's birthday party or somebody a big event or something, but away from the cameras. When it was private. So to the public, they never saw each other. They did see each other 2 or 3 times between the breakup and the telethon, but he did not know he was going to be there.
Wow. That's incredible.
See, you're getting scoop. You're getting scoop. You're getting
I know. I love all
here.
This is I'm dragging it all out of you. This is all coming out because now we're just going down the idol train here, and I'm going to go because we're going to talk about my favorite movie first, and then we'll get into the other ones. It's still about me. I love Tintin. The fact that you're in a Tintin movie, because Tintin was something I used to watch when I was a kid. Yeah. My mom loved Tintin. My mom had the comic books, and then I remember the cartoons and everything. And then you had told me that you were going to be in the movie, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. We weren't talking every day like we are now, basically. But I was still dragging advice out of you, even back then. Yeah. You told me you were going to be in the Tintin movie. I was like overjoyed. To this day, I love that role. I love that character. I think we still have a picture of Barnaby, right? Coming up.
Barnaby, you should.
Barnaby, I know. I think I sent it to you from the movie.
Bell.
And Jamie Bell, another great actor.
That was some cast.
That was some cast. Tell me, because I don't think I've talked to you a little bit about it, but what was the audition? Did you auditioned for it, right? You did audition for it.
Yep.
What was did you audition for Spielberg?
No. I auditioned at my agent's office. We recorded it and sent it. And that was one of the.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it was Jamie Bell.
You were in a suit, right? Almost like what the Hulk, like Ruffalo looks like in the Hulk.
The performance capture suit. Yeah, back then,
right? Yeah,
which has changed a lot. It's gotten much easier to work in performance capture. But when we did it, we were right about Avatar, like right about that time when James Cameron was pushing the technology. He invented it even so much further, and it was so different to work in that kind of technology because you're wearing the inside lining of a wetsuit,
right?
Is basically what those black suits are made out of. It's not the rubber outside part; it's that insular part. Oof. And so, let me tell you something. This body in a skin tight black. Let me tell you. Oh man. Oh yeah.
There's one picture, and I think you have it because I haven't seen it since. Maybe you showed it to me when we were hanging out. There is a picture of you in it, right? And on skate. Are you on skates?
No.
What are you on? You're doing. There's
Jamie was.
No. You're doing something, or you had to do. It was something very physical. I swear to God, it maybe wasn't skates, but it was some like you had to be moved or whatever it was. You had a helmet on.
Oh yeah, we all had the suit with markers on it, and then a helmet with an arm, and then the camera was here with 6 lights.
Okay, because it was a very physical scene, whatever it was. But I can't find. I tried to find that photo. I can't find. There's another one I can't find anywhere.
Well, it must have been. It must have been when I got shot in the scene where I got shot and fall down.
What it was when you fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was. I got stunt pay for that.
Oh wow!
Really? Hey, if an obese guy falling down, there's going to be hurt. There's going to be. So. That was I auditioned for that in the agent. They sent it, and I was fortunate enough. And then the whole that was real. That was a level of show business I was not I'd never experienced before. It was the limo picked me up, took me to the airport. Then it was the private lounge. Then it was first class on the plane. Then it was. Wow. And then I show up at the airport and there's a guy and he takes me in the car, in the nice car, to the hotel, which is one of my favorite hotels in the world. And then I check in and they hand me keys to a rental car that's already been signed for me. It's outside if you need it. And the guy who drove me in the limo, he was on call 24 hours a day. If I needed him and I didn't want to drive, he could come and get me and take me where I got to drive. Wow. It was like, wow. And then I went to the set and I met the first AD, Adam, I'm gonna forget his name. Shit. Adam was the assistant director, and he goes, "Have you met Steven yet?" And I always talk to people the way I'm introduced to them. So, have you met Steven? I said no. So he takes me over to Video Village, what they call where the monitors are.
Right.
And he's in the middle of a conversation, but there's nobody there. And I didn't know he was talking to a monitor because it was Peter Jackson was in New Zealand, so they were talking to each other.
Wow.
Because Steven directed the original, the Adventures of Tintin, Secret of the Unicorn. Peter Jackson was a producer. The sequel, they were going to switch jobs. Peter's going to direct it, and Steven's going to produce it. So they're talking about something, and I come over, and Adam says, "Steven, this is Joe Starr. He's playing Barnaby."
Right.
And he says, "Oh," and he didn't even say hi to me. He grabs my hand and pulls me to him. He goes, "Come here," and he introduces me immediately to Peter Jackson.
Oh my God!
And he says, "Peter, this is Joe Starr. This is who's going to play Barnaby." And he said, "Oh, right. Great to meet you." And sticks his hand out like virtually to shake my hand. I said, "So nice to meet you, Peter." And Steven said, "I'll be with you in a minute." So they finished talking. And then Steven comes over. First question out of his mouth. I swear to God, are you Mike Starr's brother? I swear to God. I swear that's what he said.
Wow.
And there he is. That's Mike.
Oh my God.
I swear that's what he said. Just like Kleino said.
Funny.
So I said, no. And I hope that's not why I got the part. I hope. And he goes, no. We love what you did. I'm just curious because of the name. We started talking and then I met immediately. I had just met Peter Jackson and then I met Daniel Craig and Jamie Bell within a minute of each other. So I meet Billy Elliot and James Bond, after I just met, the Lord of the Rings. I just met him. Right. And it was like, my head is like swimming. I'm like, wow, this is wow. And I'm standing next to Spielberg.
Right.
Like this is like a lot. Yeah. And then we did the movie and we shot it quick. It was anybody who's listening to this, any actor who works in performance capture, if you haven't before, there is so little downtime. You got to be on your game, man. Because we went from the library to the middle of the ocean in 20 minutes.
Holy shit.
They just had to sweep away all the stuff and brought in the other props. And they're not full props. Like a table is an outline of metal. Mm-hmm. It's just with markers on it so that the cameras pick it up so that the digital graphics could be laid over it later. It's not a full table.
Wow.
So when they left the library, they wheeled out the 2 or 3 frames of bookcases, wheeled them out, and then wheeled in the frame of the boat, and we were in the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible how fast you have to work. You have to work really, really fast.
You met Andy Serkis on that set too, right?
Oh yeah, and Andy Serkis.
Yeah, you guys became buddies. He became a buddy of mine. I did not become a buddy of his. Oh,
because I knew who he was.
Right.
And I was hovering to watch him work.
Wow.
There were 2 days I wasn't even shooting and I was there just because I wanted to watch him work.
Yeah.
Because he is, now it's becoming more popular, especially with video games, use a lot of performance capture, but now it's becoming more and more popular. At that point, he was really Chaplin. He was Keaton. He was the beginning. He was the first guy to master this technique.
Wow.
The first guy. He was it.
Gollum.
And Gollum, King Kong.
Yeah. And
Caesar. Planet of the Apes.
That was
and then Snoke. I mean, you can't.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, he was Snoke in Star Wars.
I forgot he was Snoke.
Yeah. So he really became the king of this whole thing.
Yeah.
He was the first guy to master it. And he's an absolute sweetheart. But I showed up just to watch him work for 2 days. I wasn't even on this. I wasn't supposed to be there. And I just had to watch him work because he was incredible. Really nice guy. Yeah.
The whole movie. I mean, it's an incredible movie. It's like,
it's a popcorn movie. It's a kid popcorn movie.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah. And but you know what the thing is though, because it's Spielberg, it's epic. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's done in that kind of way, which is why like I loved Ready Player One. He never done a thing like that before. But that is such a Spielberg fucking way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I found the AD, the Adam Somner.
Yes, Adam Somner. That's who was the first AD. Thank you. Yeah. He was the one, his beautiful English accent. And he introduced me to Steven. And I thought Steven introducing me to Peter Jackson was going to be the coolest thing I could ever, like, that was it. Mm-hmm. Then we go to the premiere and I'm doing you're on the line and you got to, you have news outlet after news outlet as you're going down the carpet, working your way to get it. I had never done a premiere before.
Right.
So I'm walking down. And at one point, after we took this picture, he turns to me and he goes, "Hey," and he sticks his arm out and grabs someone. Mm-hmm. And I'm facing this way and I turn into what he's saying. And he's in the middle of introducing me to George Lucas, in the middle of it. He goes, I turn and he goes, "Yeah, Barnaby. And Joe, this is George." And I go, "Hello, George." And because that's how I was introduced to him.
Wow.
So "Hello, George." And I met him. I go, "I'm a big, big, big fan. Big fan." Big fan. And Steve was like, "All right already." Like, and we laughed and that was it. Then we went in and we watched the movie. But yeah.
Right. And that was the first time working with Spielberg. And then you did Bridge of Spies and you got to hang with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, which was nice.
Wait, and I'm gonna ask you because I know you've told me this before, but I'm gonna ask you because I want it on. I love this story. He gave you you guys had a nice moment on set where you were talking about the business that I love.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah.
Yeah. We were the only reason we were talking was one in the scene where I was one of the news reporters outside the courtroom, but at the elevators when we're all huddled around him, I ended up standing right next to him. I was right next to him, and he knew Max Alexander.
Right.
Maxie was still alive because Max was with him in Punchline.
Yes.
And he was in Roxanne with Steve Allen. And I had a picture when Max wrote for the Oscars one year of Steve Martin and Max and Tom Hanks. So I showed Tom, I went, look, Max says hi. So we started talking because he knew I knew Max. And we're talking and joking around, blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is so great that you're doing this movie and things like that. Still out there working. And he had done I've never seen Tom in a bad movie. And so, people call him the modern Spencer Tracy, So I said, you're working all the time. It's just incredible. And he goes, well, I'm fortunate to be working as much as I am. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, it never changes. And I said, what do you mean never changes? He goes, we're halfway through this film. I'm already worried. What am I doing next? Wow. I go, you got to be kidding me. He goes, it never changes. He said, if I have 6 movies lined up, halfway through the third one, I'm worried about what am I doing after I do these other 3. It never, you're always worried about the next gig. It never goes away. Wow. That's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of comics talk about this kind of stuff. And it's weird because we were just talking about Romano. And I remember, did you see the documentary that he did?
No.
He did one because I think I can't think of the guy, but there's a guy that was an opener for him. He was like, we should film this mini tour.
Tom Caltabiano?
Yes.
That was his opening. Yeah.
Okay. So, but they were doing this thing or whatever. And Romano was talking about imposter syndrome. You don't strike me as somebody who would play into that, like as a thing, but have you ever felt like, do you ever get
Absolutely.
that feeling?
They're going to catch me.
Yes.
Yeah. They're going to catch me. I shouldn't be here.
Right.
Oh, sure. Almost everybody I know has that or some inkling of it. I've had moments of that.
Do you think it ever goes away?
No.
Please. Of course not. Okay.
No. I saw Tom Hanks talk about it in an interview with Viola Davis.
Really?
Yeah. He said, I still am not over the point where I'm waiting for someone to just go, cut. Would you please not get rid of him, please? Enough already. Enough of him. Get rid of him, please. Funny. No, they're always, there's this little, because you can't believe it.
Right.
Because if you think about it, when you watch film and TV, like Tony Gilroy always said, we grew up steeped in narrative.
Mm-hmm.
We all grew up steeped in television, steeped in movies. We're in there. And you have that image through a 5 and 6 year old's eyes.
Mm.
The first time you saw a movie, that's still the feel of a movie. When the lights go down, ooh, oh yeah. When a new TV show hits, or you're binging something going, this is incredible. You get sucked right into that world. It's so much bigger than life. Then when you're in it, when you're actually on the other side of the camera, I'm not Olivier. What am I doing here?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not Lou Costello. Why did I get this? What am I doing?
Right.
So I think there's moments of it. I know you're never totally over it. I would not think.
Right.
But yeah, there's moments of it. I'm standing with Spielberg. Yeah.
That's what I was wondering that whole experience. And then the conversation you had with Tom Hanks and stuff, it kind of speaks to the imposter syndrome thing where you're just like,
well,
what am I doing?
Show business or life always has a way to balance it out. I did Tintin, like I said, the whole high end treatment. I meet, Peter Jackson and Circus and, and Bell and Craig and everybody. Okay. Bang, big movie. Wow. Boom. Finish it. The next week, I was in Des Moines, Iowa at a comedy club. And my room, it was wintertime, it was February. And outside my window of my motel room, I was looking at 500 acres of dead corn. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Full circle.
It's funny how those kind of things. Out. Yeah. It's weird though. Like that little stuff we talked to, you mentioned some moments earlier too. I was thinking the same thing where it's like those little things, those little moments, with you and Robert Klein or even with Alan King or any of that kind of stuff. keeps you going, especially when you're younger and you're a young comic doing it. Because I remember the first time I opened for a national headliner was Jimmy Fallon and did 5 shows with him. And then I remember after that, and it was great. Every audience member, I mean, they're his audience. Couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been more responsive to jokes. They knew what you were going to see. And I had a great, time. And then his family was there and they came up, and his sister and his mother, and they loved me. And I remember as soon as it ended, I was back at the fucking library that I worked in with every old woman hating the shit out of me and asking if I can go to the bathroom. Like, can I leave?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. It does that. Life has to do that.
Yeah.
It's, no matter how up you are, but it feels like a bad thing when you're going way up, and then man, it drags you back down. But it's a godsend when you're really in the depths of shit. Yeah. And then something good happens, because you always want to be up, and life always wants to be level. Always. It wants to balance that. The universe wants to be balanced. It really does. It's the second law of thermodynamics. It wants everything wants to be at even entropy. That's what it wants to eventually even out. Yeah. And so no matter how great it is, how bad it is, something's going to happen the other way.
So what you're saying is you're a fan, you're a fan of Thanos. And then the interview took a turn.
If I could snap my fingers and have half the fucking comedians disappear, let me tell you something. Oh yeah, I'm snapping like I'm in an old commercial. Oh yeah, I'm snapping.
There goes all of the drinks, jokes, and storytelling crew. You see what I'm saying, Tom?
Sure.
So I wouldn't Frank Mignola, you old fuck. I'm just kidding.
I would have made sure too. I wouldn't just. I would be. Yeah, I would have made sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking great. Oh man. So I'm gonna keep this train going too, because you worked with another guy. Here's a guy that I feel like polar opposite of Spielberg. Oliver Stone, you got to work with. He seems I mean, he's a genius, but every time I see him speak versus when I see Spielberg speak, Spielberg has a kind of joy to him, when he's in interviews, stuff like that. I never quite understand Oliver, because I feel like he knows where bodies are buried and he's not telling you. He knows if aliens are I always feel like that guy knows and has seen some shit and he's ready to fucking snap or say it at any moment. That's just the impression I get. I could be wrong.
The difference between the two of them in the brief time that I spent with both of them was if you, an analogy would be like, Steven is like a kid who can't wait to show you his toy box. He can't wait. But when you meet Mr. Stone, he's just always closing a door. Oh, hi. That's what it's so like. Great. Yeah.
That's exactly what I imagined it. That was perfect. Yeah.
And he's but it's true. But like I said, I will take people as I'm introduced to them. I always call him Mr. Stone. I never call him Oliver. Never, because I was introduced. This is Mr. Stone. So that's how I called him Mr. Stone. But Steven was very generous in like working with the performance capture. He got to be on the set, not directing from way over there. He was actually standing when I got shot, in the movie, and I hit the ground. That camera was not a zoom. He had the camera in my face. He was 10 inches in front of my face.
Wow.
Directing me from 10 inches. I'm looking at it. That was tremendous pressure. But with Mr. Stone, it was a different thing. He was the greatest. It was one of the greatest experiences I'm probably ever going to have in show business, with how generous he was. I'm going to tell you a story about how stupid I was. So it was my first movie. It was the first movie I ever auditioned for. And I go in and I'm fortunate to get it. The audition was an odd little process, but I got the role. And we're shooting. Now, of course, it's supposed to be the morning of 9/11, which was a beautiful day that day. The weather was beautiful that morning. We're shooting on a subway platform in Brooklyn, and it's freezing. I had to be on the set at 5 a.m. because he wanted the shot just as the sun was coming up, really early morning.
Right.
So I get there and it's like 30 degrees. Now in the rehearsal and in the audition, I had a Yankees windbreaker on, and he liked it. He said, "You know what? Wear that." Okay, because my lines, I'm talking about Derek Jeter from the Yankee game, so it made sense. I show up 5 a.m. It's 30 degrees. It's windy. With the wind chill, it's probably 20 degrees. And all I'm wearing is jeans, sneakers, and this stupid windbreaker. I got no coat, no jacket, no glove, no nothing, because I'm a moron. I don't know better.
Right.
So I'm in my trailer waiting, and they come get me about 15 minutes later, 5:15. They walk me up, and there he is in this head, and he's very tall. He's like 6'2", very tall, big, huge hood, fur-lined, long coat Parker down to his ankle, down to the floor, sitting in his chair. And everybody else on the crew has these big jackets, winter things. Everybody is smart enough to bring shit. And I'm standing there basically facing hypothermia.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, Joe, how are you?" We talked to each other. He said, "I'm waiting for the sun to come up." And he starts giving me a crash course in lighting. It's very generous. See, I want the light to come at this because I want the camera from this angle. I don't want it to shine into the lens, but I want it to bounce off that. See that building? I want it to bounce off that building. And she'll give us a nice glow from where the train is going to come. Wow. I said, "Wow, that's interesting." And then it'll light onto here. And he's telling me, and then he's talking about the lenses he uses. He's being very generous to me.
Yeah.
And then after about 10 minutes of talking, he goes, "Do you want your coat?" Thinking I left it in the trailer, not knowing I was too fucking dumb to bring one. So I got an outplay that I'm not stupid. And I go, no, I'm fine. Cold doesn't bother me any. My lips are blue, and I go, fine, it doesn't. No, Mr. Stone, no, it's fine. I'm perfect. He starts talking more about the camera, about the angle, and then he goes, do you want a coat? He didn't say your coat now. He said, "Do you want a coat?" And I said, "No, Mr. Stone, I am fine." He looks me up and down and he goes, "Come here." And I lean in. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You're an actor in a major motion picture being directed by Oliver Stone. If you want a coat, they will get you a coat." and I said, "Maybe I'd like a coat." "Mr. Starr would like a coat." In 4 minutes, I was in a Parker with the big hood down to the ground. He goes, "How about hot chocolate?" "I would love a hot chocolate." "Mr. Starr would like a hot chocolate." They run. I'm holding a thermos of hot chocolate. A thermos.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I got little hand warmers in my hands and everything. And he was so sweet. He went so out of his way. And then we got on the train and we shot that a couple of times. And then me and Jay Hernandez, who's now Magnum PI.
Yeah.
We're in there in that subway. He had his own train. He had a 2 or 3 car train that was his, made up to look like the number 2, I think. And we shot it a couple of times. Then we shoot it, and then we had to back the train all the way back up, and then shoot it again, and then we move it back. But he did something that was sweet. This is also a great lesson for any actors that are listening, because this was my first movie. Right before we're ready to shoot, so the sun's getting in the right spot, the camera's set, all the extras are there, train's going to pull in, we're getting ready, we got about 10 minutes. And then he says, "Come on, we got to take the walk." And I go, "What walk?" And he goes, "The actor's walk." I go, "Okay." I've never heard that expression in my life. So I get next to him and we start walking down the platform away from everybody. It's just me and Oliver Stone.
Right.
2 coats. One is very tall, one is very short. 2 coats are floating down because we're wearing the big Parkers. And he says, "Tell me about this guy." So what guy? "The character you're playing." "Oh, he goes, "Why is he on this train?" He's going into the city. He's going to go see some friends at a bar early, and then hang out a little bit, and then catch the Yankee game later on tonight, the second game, because they played last night, played tonight. And he said, "But why isn't he at work?" "So he hurt his back." "Oh, he did?" "Yeah, he hurt his back. He's out for a couple of years now, and it doesn't look like he's ever going to come back. He's probably going to retire on comp." And he goes, "Oh, he's one of those guys." "Yeah, he's one of those guys." and I had to say, it's 2 lines. Why does it matter? And he knew I wasn't asking to be an asshole.
Right.
He already taught me about lighting and lenses. And I said, why do we need to know it? And he said, "Because the way you choose to play him is going to tell me how we find him.
Oh, wow.
He said, does he step into the frame? Do I float the camera through the crowd and then find him? Is he already reading the paper over Jay's left shoulder or his right shoulder? Why doesn't he have his own newspaper? Why has he got to read over him? And I was like all of these things I would never think of. Of course, I'm not the director.
Right.
But he said, are you sitting? Do we find you sitting? Are you standing? Is Jay sitting? The way you play this character is telling me how I have to shoot this scene because I have to find that guy. Wow. I mean, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, now I know enough. We walked back and then we shot it. And he was right. He had the camera float through the crowd. And one guy moved past him. And Jay, I'm leaning on the pole. And Jay's already reading the paper. And I'm reading the paper over his shoulder. And then I say, you know, did you see the game last night? I think that was the line. Did you see that kid Jeter's homer last night? Kid's got some arm, you know, things like that. And that was it. It was just, but it's the first talking lines in the movie.
Yeah.
The movie opens that way. But he was such a sweetheart. And then at the end, I'm a nobody actor. First movie. He's been so kind to me. And then he hugs me. He goes out of his way to find me because I'm done. And he gives me a hug. And he says, I'm taking this as your audition for anything in the future.
Oh, wow.
And I go, thank you, Mr. Stone. That's really, he was so sweet to me. And I know a lot of political things he said and a lot of things he said socially that some people have a hard time with and stuff. I always come back to this is one of the sweetest guys to me in that moment. The way he went out of his way to be nice to a nobody, brand new a brand new actor on his first film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really sweet. I can't say enough nice things about him.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, that really is awesome. And regardless of what, you know, what anybody says or what people say moments in time, it's good to have stories like that because people's lives can't be crystallized by one or two quotes or something they said at some point in a moment of time. It's important to get a whole picture of it. So that I'm glad you got to tell that story because that's incredible.
And it's so amazing, the process, like his whole process, and then how you affected. They say the first 2 minutes of a movie, they summarize the movie. Like, so you were part of like the summary of the movie, which is amazing. Yeah. I feel like it's an amazing process.
Yeah. It was very sweet. It was I mean, he was great. Steven was great. Peter Jackson was, all these people I met were at that level. I mean, basically that's the top of the mountain. You know, Scorsese's the only one that, you know, there's very few people that high as a director. Now there's more, but
that you have left to work with. Now you got to get Scorsese. In my lifetime, you know, like those are the guys. That's the top, you know? Yeah.
And so, and I had a great audition for Brian De Palma. De Palma was the same. He was so sweet. Another big man. He's also a very big man, but he was so sweet. He just, you want to improvise? I had like 2 lines in this little, it was the movie they made about, De Niro played the football coach. No, the football coach.
No.
Football coach. I can't remember the guy's name because that was the name of the movie.
Yeah,
the football coach who was fired, and oh man, well, De Palma shot that. He directed that.
Yeah,
and I played the owner of a restaurant that the guy liked to go to, Paterno.
Oh,
right?
yeah, Paterno. Yes. Yeah. Penn State.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
played Vince Lombardi. Yeah,
right. And I was going to be this waiter, the owner of a restaurant, and it was 2 or 3 lines, but it would have been with De Niro.
Wow.
So it was important. He goes, do you improvise? Because De Niro likes to improvise. Not as much as Pacino, but De Niro does like to improvise. So I said, sure. So we started fooling around. And this 3 lines turned into 45 minutes of you know, an audition, which I didn't get. But it was just, he just kept flinging stuff at me to see how far I'd go. If I could, no matter what it was. You know, serve me a duck like it's on fire. No problem. And I would do this. He just kept pushing. I think he was just having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
So, he was also very sweet. So I haven't met anybody on that level. You know, Andy Serkis, one of the sweetest men. Daniel Craig, too funny. He was talking about the bodysuits that we wore in Tintin.
Yeah.
His first scene that he shot was actually the market scene at the beginning of the movie that we shot together. It's me, him, and Jamie. Well, 3 of us were in that scene. He walked onto the stage, the sound stage, and nobody knew he was there yet. And we weren't shooting. It's all quiet, and he just yells, "I had a career I am James Bloody Bond. And everybody looks, and he felt so silly. You couldn't help but feel silly in these suits.
Yeah.
You know, they're skin tight. There's no secrets.
That's
and
too funny.
Yeah,
no secret.
No, everybody knew I had 5 testicles. Everybody knew it.
Only named 3.
That's all.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's weird when you hear these guys like De Niro like to improvise and stuff like that too, because when you think of improvisation, you think of Judd Apatow film. You think of comedians kind of busting balls, shooting the shit or whatever. And then I'll hear stuff like you just said. I didn't know De Niro liked to improvise, but also they say Robert Downey is one of like the best improvisers to work with on any, because he knows his character back and front, and he's like, I'm just gonna say whatever the fuck I want at this point.
Downey is a magical person who I'm so glad his life that he came out of what he did.
Yeah.
When he was younger, because I met him briefly. I mean, met him. I shook his hand briefly on the Paramount lot when I had an audition, and he was in shorts and his glasses, and he just was. It was pre-Avengers, and and I said, Mr. Downey, and he stops. He goes, yeah, and I was dressed very nice for this audition. He probably thought I worked for the studio initially. You know, I probably looked like an agent or something,
right?
And I said, Mr. Downey. He says, yeah. And I said, thank you for the job you did in Chaplin.
Oh,
you were perfect in Chaplin. And he ran over and shook my hand. Thank you so much. That means so much. You really liked it? I go, I loved it. My grandfather was in vaudeville. And I said, I love, oh my God, really? You work here? And I go, and I held up my sides. I went, I'm an actor. I'm going to an audition. Oh my God, what are you going in for? And so I tell him the thing I'm going in for. And he's like, well, good luck, man. I hope you get it. You got to get it. And he's like, got my shoulders. You got to get it. And I go, thank you so much. It means a lot. And then boom. And he went one way and I went the other way. For that brief second, while I was looking at him, I'm like, I'm so glad his life that he turned it around, because he really by now could have been forgotten. Totally forgotten.
Right.
You know, it could have went south and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, all he would have been was the Brat Pack.
Right.
He wouldn't have been thought of anything after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This could have been the guy from that Back to School, right? He was in Back to School with Dangerfield. That was it.
That's right. That's right. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me that that his career is so wild, because he was one of the guys who worked in every 80s movie. He was part of that crew. Mm-hmm. Did stuff with Dangerfield, was on fucking SNL for no reason. As far as I think it was Dick Ebersol was the one who was running it at the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, which by the way, they always consider like the forgotten years, because Eddie Murphy was the only one who was actually pulling the, Eddie and,
Eddie was a machine at that point.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie was a machine. He had become an industry of himself.
Right.
You know, at that time.
Yeah. And then that's fucking incredible. So then, again, so you got Oliver Stone, you got Spielberg, and then you started doing what was you wanted to do? I know you like movies, but you also like crush it on TV stuff consistently. And then I know I said we were going to talk about this because you tell me all the time you don't care for stand up, and it drives me crazy because you're so fun. Tom, I don't know if we're going to go see him at some point. He crushes. I mean, there's no. I'm getting mad now because it's effortless.
Okay, wait.
And
wait.
All right. Go ahead.
Wait, it's not effortless.
Okay.
It takes effort.
Sure,
it always takes effort. But
now John's like one of those guys that says you only work 1 hour a night. He's like, only works 1 hour a night. And he
exactly.
I mean, it's just he just exudes like it's so. It's incredible.
Everybody has a talent.
Right.
Everybody has a talent. Mm-hmm. A long time ago, I realized I have a knack for performing stand-up. I have a knack for that. I don't really have to worry about it. If I work out a bit, like this new piece I'm working on, it'll probably be the first time I do it on stage, it's probably going to be 15, 18 minutes long. Wow. When I finish it, by the time it's all done, maybe 12 solid minutes, 11 minutes. Mm-hmm. That writing a big bit like that, I write it in a couple of small chunks. I got it in my head. I get up and I do it. I have a knack for it. But the road part of stand-up, the grind of the clubs and the travel, and there's not enough backstage. I told you, I got in the business to be backstage and in the green room. And when you're on the road, it is a crapshoot on who the other two comics are for the week.
Yeah.
And if they're not old school, and there ain't many of us left, the odds are I'm going to be in the hotel room the whole week with nothing to do, because I'm not going to hang out with, some new guy or new girl, new woman who think they have 2 hours of stand-up after 6 months of doing stand-up.
Right.
And I don't want to work with a middle who's constantly harping on he closes everywhere else and he's doing this as a favor.
Right, exactly.
So, but that's why, the only challenge is it's myself. It's not a personal thing. I was never after a late night spot. It's going to be I've never done the Tonight Show. I never did Letterman. It would be very tough for me to do 6 minutes. It takes me 12 minutes to say hello to an audience. So I do not work short. I work longer. And that's just the mechanics of the way that I work.
Right.
Maybe one day I will have a nice late night spot, but it'd be 1 or 2 of them, and that's not me. That's not what I do. So if you're on the road with me and you're not old school,
right?
It just, this is why I remember I was in Cincinnati working with this comic, this middle act, and I know this happens. It happens when a headliner for the week will go over to the middle and go, "Hey, come here, man." And usually the conversation is going to be, "You do anything about being in the hospital?" Because don't do it, because I got a big bit about that. And my attitude's always been, if you're the closer, you should change your shit.
Yeah.
This guy's working with everything he's got.
Yeah, so that's where I got it from you.
Cincinnati. I was in Cincinnati, and I said, "Come here for a minute," right to the middle. We were starting the show, and I called the middle act over, and I could see it in his face. He's ready for that conversation.
Yeah.
I said, "Listen, this was something I want from you, like for the whole week. When you're done your half hour, I want this audience to think the show is over." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I want you to go guns a-blazing. I want you to annihilate. I want it to be impossible to follow you. Do anything you want to make it as hard as you can for me to follow you." And he's like, "Really? Why?" I said, "Because the better you are, the better I have to be. And it makes the whole show better.
Right.
How could it be bad?" Then the MC brought him up, and then I grabbed the MC. "Come here." And I told him the same thing. "I don't want this kid to be able to follow you for the rest of the week. I mean, everything you've got, whip it out." And he's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." And when you go up for piss time in between him and me, in between when the feature comes off, I said, save your A stuff for right there and hammer, just because he's about to kill. Right. And then you kill. I want the show over. I want them to expect the curtain to come down and we're finished, because then I can actually go to work.
Right.
That I'll do, because that's a personal challenge. But a lot of times it's not that. It's, there's a lot of people trying to make it a comedy who don't know shit about comedy.
Right.
They just don't. They don't know anything about funny,
Yeah. That's one of the things I loved. You said during the pandemic or whatever, you were talking about all these people who were just like, "Oh, I haven't been on stage. I don't know. It's going to go away." And you were like, it's because you said talent doesn't rust. So if you got it, you don't have to worry about it.
Great statement.
Yeah. And it's true. It's absolutely 100% true.
I think the pandemic is bringing out one salient point. Another big word is that the world of stand-up was full of actors, and we didn't know it. A great many comedians were acting as comedians. They weren't in their bones, like Jerry, you said. They weren't funny in their bones.
Right.
They were funny in their muscles. They had muscle memory, but not in their bones. It wasn't their center, where being funny is not something they're trying to do all the time.
Yeah.
It's what they are. That's all. And so I think that brought it out. And I also think that the pandemic shook loose a lot of people. I think the world of comedy is going to be much smaller when it gets rolling again. A lot of clubs closed, so that's kind of good. But they'll open back up. New ones will open up. It's happened before. There's a purge every couple of years. Yeah. It's like in The Godfather. These things got to happen every 10, 20 years. Get rid of the bad blood. It's the same thing. The same thing.
Well, it's like did you? I don't know if you saw the Comedy Store documentary on Showtime that Mike Binder did.
I didn't. I did not see it. Not yet.
It's really good, but the craziest thing is that it goes through obviously decades of the Comedy Store, and the best part about that is that in each decade, it's comedy's over, we're done. It's back again. Comedy never comes over.
Exactly.
It's back again. Of course. Yeah. No matter what it was,
comedy's always going. Comedy needs to exist because remember we were talking about that scale before of how everything wants to be balanced?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is going to be a little philosophical here, but it's true.
Do it.
If the ultimate truth is we're all going to die, which is the ultimate truth.
Yep.
To balance that out, you need comedy.
Yeah.
What battles the inevitable other than making fun of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why comedy is never going to go away. It'll change. Right. It'll change constantly as it always has. Well, vaudeville, people say like now that the internet is going to kill stand-up comedy because there's so much of it. Why go out and see live stand-up comedy? Okay. They said the same exact thing when HBO and Showtime showed up. When cable TV happened, it's going to kill stand-up comedy. It didn't. Prior to that, network television. When I was a kid, there were weekly 9 stand-up shows on television. 9 every week.
Wow.
It's going to kill stand-up. It didn't kill stand-up. Before that, it was sitcoms. It was all the sitcoms. There were so many sitcoms. It's going to kill live stand-up. It didn't kill stand-up.
Right.
Before that, it was the movies. Then before that, it was television. Before that, then it was talkies. Before that, it was radio. Before that, it was silent pictures. Before that, it was vaudeville, because the comedy before vaudeville was still in print. Mark Twain,
right?
Irving Cobb, Stephen Leacock from Canada. All these great comedic writers. The Nasby Letters, which were written by a guy. Petroleum something was his name, his pen name, Petroleum something, wrote something called the Nasby Letters in the 1800s. The last thing, Lincoln held up the 7 years ago. He held up the speech to read all of his friends the latest Nasby letters that were printed in a newspaper.
Wow,
So
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, so the written comedy was going to be killed by live performing comedy and vaudeville.
Wow.
Comedy was going to die over and over and over and over again. And it's fucking still here because people don't get it. Death is the ultimate truth. The only way to fight that is to make fun of it.
Right.
Comedy is the only salve, the only bomb that we can put on ourselves to kind of protect ourselves from the oncoming. Because death is the ultimate forever. Right. It's kind of permanent, ain't it? So it's timeless. It is a place where time doesn't exist. So is every time you laugh.
Oh.
Every time you laugh are little bits of where time doesn't exist.
Right.
It's the other end of death. It's the other end. Because it's a creative, you keep coming back.
Yeah.
You laugh, then you stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's like a defib kit.
Absolutely. Clear. 2 Jews walk into a bar. You know?
Jews walk into a bar. Clear.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. Now I gotta.
You got some good stuff out of me tonight.
Oh, I know. This is beautiful. Well, now I'm going to ask. I told you I was going to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you it's out of order. But your first paid gig, because I ask every comic this. Some people don't remember actually, which blows me away.
My first paid gig
as a comic
was 1991. I still have the pin. It was because I save stuff.
Yeah,
Miss Cycle Queen, 1991.
Wow.
Miss Cycle Queen was 3 strippers would in a contest for this biker gang. And they called her Miss Cycle Queen.
Wow.
And I did a show on a Saturday night at a club, little showcase thing. And the club owner, who was my first manager, who I can't name because he's still alive. And he says, what are you doing tomorrow? Sunday. And I go, nothing. I'm going to come here to do the mic night at night. He goes, no, tomorrow afternoon, noon, 12 o'clock. I said, no, nothing. You want to come make some money? Come do a gig. Really? He said, your first gig. Okay. What do I got to do? You're going to host. There's a motorcycle enthusiast group.
Oh,
which is a nice way of putting biker gang.
Right.
This motorcycle enthusiast group is having like their annual thing. And there's going to be music and there's going to be dancing. And okay. So I show up the next day in my suit. I wore a suit when I started.
Wow.
I'm in my suit. 12 o'clock. There ain't nobody there but me. 12:30, nobody. 1 o'clock, 1:15, nobody. 1:30, motorcycles start to pull in. It's Sunday. They don't get up early.
Right.
I look at this group of motorcycle enthusiasts with Schwarzenegger tattoos. Oh yeah, it's those guys. And they come in, and I'm like, "Are you kidding?" Half of them are still drunk from the night before. I'm like, "Oh my god!" They come in, they crowd into the little room, the club. I'm at the bar, like, "Oh my god, this is wow, this is." But don't worry, I'm hosting. You're gonna have 3 bands, you're gonna have 3 strippers and 2 big bands. This is no problem. We're getting ready. He comes over, my manager who owned the club, and he said, "Hey, so we're gonna start in 5 minutes." Whoa! I'm the only one. Where's the bands? Where's the girls? Where's the dancing? Where's the? And he said, "Oh, this young girl over here introduced me to a girl, a beautiful, very light-skinned black girl, very just perfect skin, gorgeous, probably 22, 23 years old. I was 21 at the time, and she's the only one who's going to dance." And I said, "Well, how do you have a contest when there's only one of them?" I mean, doesn't she have to come in first? Why are you gonna? So, well, look, she's here, and that's it. Okay. And what about the bands? There's 2 big bands. Okay, yeah. See this another girl comes over, thinking it's 1969. She looks just like a hippie with a tape deck in her hand. Tape deck for the little cassette. Her band ain't coming. She's gonna play the tape and then sing.
No,
she's a folk singer. For the motorcycle enthusiast, she's going to folk sing, and we got 1 stripper. Okay. All right. What time we starting the show? And it's like 1:30, almost 2 o'clock now. He said, "Well, look, we got to give him a 2-hour show." How many times is she going to dance? Well, the other girls didn't show, so she's just going to do her big number. Okay, so she's going to dance once. How about the girl with the tape recorder? She's going to sing 2 songs. I said, "Okay, that's about maybe 14 minutes out of 2 hours. What about the other 2 hours?" "Well, just go up there and perform." I've only been around. I had like 9 minutes. So I go up and I start the show. I hit the stage. "Fuck you!" Just as I hit the stage, I didn't even say hello yet. I didn't even say hello. "Fuck you!" I'm like, "Oh wow!" So I start to try and get into my act. It ain't going. I hit about 15 minutes. I bring on the band, the one girl with the tape deck. She hits play. The machine eats the tape immediately. Immediately.
Amazing.
Because the show is so bad, the tape committed suicide. Bang. It dies. She starts to sing anyway. She sings. They're quiet for her. She says, "Thank you." 1 person claps. She walks off. I go back up there. "Fuck you more." I'm like, Jesus. All right. I try and go into the act. They're hating me. Someone pegs me in the head with a quarter. Oh yeah. It hit the floor. I picked it. This is about 40 minutes now at this point. I've been on stage total. A quarter hits me in the head, hits the floor. I pick it up and I go, and I put my other hand in my other pocket. I go, "Wait, I owe you some change." It was my first of only 2 laughs.
Wow.
Gotta laugh. I have to talk for another half hour before I bring up the girl to dance.
Oh my God.
She comes up, she dances, thank God. I got to go back up and do another 40 minutes. I got to get to 2 hours for these guys. I go up, I beg the girl to come up and sing another song. I beg her. She's packing. She's crying because the tape is in the machine. She can't get it out. I look past her, and the stripper, the girl who was the stripper, is crying. So I thought somebody did something. Somebody said something to her. Oh my God, what happened? I'm trying to wrap up. I hit almost 2 hours. I don't even know what I said. But at one point, I'm fixing the mic to leave the stage, and I pick up, and the cord spun into what looked like a noose. And I went, "Oh, this is perfect, huh?" And everybody laughed. 2 laughs. 2 laughs in 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
I walk off. They all get to the bar. They couldn't wait. They get up, they go to the bar, they're drinking. It's, now it's 4:00. They're drinking. I go in the back and I said, "Why are you crying? Are you okay?" I was really concerned about her. And she said, "I was crying for you." I said, "You got to be what?" She goes, "How did you do that?" That was, my God, I couldn't do it. I go into the office and I'm mad. I want to yell at somebody. I go into the office where Mr. Macho has been hired. He didn't see the show.
Oh,
so I walk in. He goes, "How did it go?" How did it go? I had 3 strippers and 2 bands whittled down to 1 stripper dancing once and a girl whose tape broke into the. And he goes, "Well, don't worry about it." And he slams money into my hand. First paid gig. That held $25.
Oh, God.
And I still have the pin that they gave Miss Cycle Queen 1991. I still have the pin.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the first paid gig. That was the first money I ever got paid for doing comedy. Which wasn't comedy. It was just avoiding death.
That
the other end of the spectrum.
In the middle, I remember they were yelling, "We're gonna fuck you." Oh yeah. Wow. It was, and there was no getting out of there.
Holy shit.
It was one of those terrifying.
Right.
It was horrible. That was my first paid gig. So you asked, I told you.
That's the best answer we ever got. Everyone else's was nothing compared to that.
Yeah, well, it's just when you're around a long time.
Yeah.
Everything bad that can happen has happened to me. I've had sound equipment go on fire on stage. I had a car come through the front wall of a comedy club while I was on stage.
Wow.
I've been hit in the face with a snowball while I was on stage. Yeah, been hit with a snowball.
Car.
Yeah, a guy backed it was in a strip mall in Staten Island. And the guy backed his car right through the front window of the club. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, came back. No, this was the line. Who ordered a pizza? That was my line. Yeah. There was glass in my hair. Who ordered the pizza? Yeah.
Oh God, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah. Anything that can happen has happened to me.
Yeah.
Chicken bones thrown at me.
Oh my God. Fucking.
Yeah. In Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything that can happen, I've had happen. Blackouts.
Oh God.
The only thing that has happened is an earthquake. That hasn't happened. What?
Well, I don't have any real wood over here, but this desk isn't real apparently. I mean, I've had
what
wood.
A bizarre statement.
That was. Yeah. No, but for you, wood. No, this is. I don't know what this is. Yeah. No, I got it. That's fucking incredible.
What you were going to say something?
I was going to say I've had. You had. What was the incident with the line where you said? Because I remember this one. Give me it. You said to the guy. It was he was being an asshole in the audience, and you said, "Just imagine if your mother had swallowed."
Whoa!
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. No, but I know what you're talking about.
That's great. It's not one of the stories we can't talk about, is it?
No.
Okay.
That was just. It's just the language is too. That's
okay.
Really,
all right. Yeah. All right. I won't. But that's a great fucking line.
I'll tell it if you want me to, but I'll tell it. Okay. It was in Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
I blame this whole story on Joe Bronzi. I haven't talked to Joey in a while. I got to fix that. But this is a story that happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're at a little club, restaurant that did comedy in a room, one of those in Staten Island. And it was a rectangular room. So people are sitting about 50 people. If you looked right in front of me, the entrance to the bar was maybe 15 feet right in front of me. And then I got 50 people on my left and 50 people on my right. It's like a long shoebox. Okay. Right. And I'm in the middle. Okay. So the MC goes up, does something. And then Joey was on stage, Bronzy.
Mm-hmm.
And some big gorilla, a muscle bound dude and his girlfriend, just a steroid animal. You could see it. He shows up late for the show. The show's already going. He wants to see the show.
Mm-hmm.
And they put 2 chairs, not even a table, just 2 chairs directly in front of the comic, in front of the stage, which is between you and the door. You can't get out.
Right.
So the guy sits 6 feet in front of Bronzy, and with the girl. Joey's performing, and the guy chimes in out of nowhere. You're really not that funny. Joey keeps going. He does the right thing. First, you ignore it. Let the room hate the guy first. This way, you got a group of people on your side. So Joey handles it, and it goes for like 15 minutes before Joey finally gets off, because I got to get up there.
Yeah.
So Joey finishes. He battles this guy as best he can. He gets off. And the MC's up there bringing me up. Please welcome to Joe Starr. And I found this out later. The owner said to Joey, should we throw that guy out of here? And he goes, no, let's pray he starts with Starr. Because I'm kind of notorious for, I've been heckled maybe 6 times in my whole stand-up career. Maybe 6 times in 30-something years. Wow. Because I command the stage. So I'm up there 3-4 minutes, and I notice the corner of the room, there's like a curtain at the back of the bar. And I see like 4 heads, one on top of the other. Bronzy, a waitress, the owner. They're all watching to see if something happens. And I'm getting there, and all of a sudden he goes, you're not funny. I ignore him. I keep going. Minute later, I said you're not funny. I ignore him. I keep going. Then he gets loud. And he's big. The guy's huge. I fucking said you're not funny. And I just stop and I go, you know what? And just I said, just like that. I went, you know what? I hear Bronzy go, oh boy, just like that. So I go, when you meet somebody, you could tell a lot about them. And as soon as you meet them, you can understand it. You know them. He goes, yeah. I said, I can see right through you like a pane of glass. I can just, not only do I know you, I know your family. Like, for instance, your mom, your mother is a saint, isn't she? She's a sweet woman. Your mother is a sweet, sweet woman. And he goes, yeah, how'd you know that? I said, well, because she wouldn't swallow that fucking night. You're my problem? Because she wouldn't take it in the ass. Now I got to fucking deal with you? Because she wants to be a queen and be fancy and hold the pinky out when she's blowing your old man. Now I got to fucking deal with you. And as I'm saying it, the crowd who was afraid of this guy already, now they're like, oh my God, we're going to see this man get killed.
Right.
Now I was in a comedy club. I told you it was a little restaurant. We're on the 2nd floor of a building. The window's right behind me. And I'm thinking, if he charges me, we're both going out this window. We're going to die. We're going to die.
Right.
But I said it so quick, the way I just said it. And everybody kind of gasped, and some people laughed. They couldn't believe what I just said. Right. Because, you know me, I'm harmless on stage. I'm a very affable Lou Costello guy. They couldn't believe I said it. And I said it so quick, his response was, what? That was his response. And I said, I'm saying your mom is a lady, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I'm telling you that I know your mom's a lady. He goes, well, she is. I go, I know that. And he goes, well, thank you. Well, you're welcome. Now everybody's laughing. The show ends. I finally get out of this room. Bronzy's crying. We're all laughing. And somebody from the audience comes over. One of the waiters goes, Starr, that fucking guy's looking for you. This don't look good. He comes running through the room. I'm like, oh, fuck, he figured it out. He figured out what I said. He's shoving people out of the way to get to. It's like a mad gorilla. Shoves people out of the way, gets to me, and he goes, you. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, this is going to be it. And he goes, you. I go, what? And he's got a tear in his eye. He goes, what you said about my mom, it was the sweetest thing I ever heard in my life, that a comedian would take time out to compliment my mother. I'm going to buy you a drink. Let's have a drink. And he bought a drink for me, and we're drinking. And Bronzy's behind me whispering in my ear, I can't believe the guy is this fucking stupid. I can't believe he's this fucking stupid. Yeah, but I blame Bronzy for that.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
And now let me bookend it with this. Keith Alberstadt, a comedian that I love and respect. The only reason I'm telling you this is because it's comedically very funny. I told him this whole story, and years ago, he had a heckler in the room, and the schmuck tried to use that line.
No.
And it didn't go the way that mine went. I told Keith, you can't do a line like that. You're a nice sweetheart. You're a Boy Scout. You can't get away with that, schmuck. Oh, but that's the problem with... That's the problem with dealing with hecklers, is if you give them command. Yeah. It's kind of like a martial art kind of thing. If a heckler steps to me during a show, you're stepping on my mat. This is my dojo. Right. You're in my school. So that's, it's very, you have to exude that. One time at a club here on the island, 2 women almost got in a fist fight. This is only about 7 years ago, right in the middle of one of my sets, because one was ordering loud or laughing, whatever, and the other one yells at her, and all of a sudden glasses are flinging food, and they almost got in a fist fight. And I sat on the stool while it's happening. And I'm like, and everybody else is laughing, and they threw one woman out, and then her friends are yelling, "You should have done something. You should have said something." I say, "Hey, sweetheart, my whole world is up here on this stage. What happens out there with you has nothing to do with it." Nothing. They weren't attacking me. They were attacking each other. It had nothing to do with me. But I hear a lot of negative comment, horror stories of people dealing with hecklers. Yeah. And I don't want to say this I don't mean this as an insult. I know there were tough rooms. But I think the major part of dealing with it falls on the comic, not even the club. I did a club once, and I had a drunk girl. It was like near Christmas, right around Christmas. Everybody's drinking a lot. Maybe it was like a company Christmas party. They all came to the show, and she was so drunk. She just got up and walked on stage where I was.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Now, in that, I knew she wasn't going to be violent. She smashed.
Right.
But I'm looking around. Where's the doorman? Where's the manager? Who's going to get this woman off the stage?
Right.
And she takes the mic. I want to say something so I give her the mic, and I'm looking out in the room like, who's policing the room?
Yeah.
You are.
Right. Apparently. And it was an A room. A room. I'm shocked. So now she's babbling, and I go to reach for the mic, and she goes, "You're not that funny anyway. I have to talk." And I'm like, oh, now she's okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you're going to be drunk and enter my physical space, that's one thing. But when you're going to shit on my talent, that doesn't go well.
Right.
So I said, no, sweetheart, that's over now. And she goes, "I could be funny." And I said, "You're too drunk to be funny. And, just go sit down." And she goes, "I'm pretty." I go, "You are very pretty. Unfortunately, that doesn't fix stupid. Would you please sit the fuck down?" And now I insulted her. And then all of a sudden, the manager's in the room. When I insulted her, because now maybe they're not going to pay the bill.
Right.
And I was like, wow, what kind of bullshit. I was so mad when that show was over.
Yeah.
But listen, man, I said, it's Christmas season. I understand we're going to have some drunks. You should know that. I know that. But there was nobody to police the room. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you didn't like the way I handled that, wait till the next one happens. Because I can, as nice as I can be 180 degrees. I could really be a bad guy. So we don't want me flying off the handle while I've got a mic in my hand, And me and the manager had a couple of words that we really were, going hot and heavy in the office. I will catch a plane tomorrow. I will leave. I don't give a shit. You know what that would do to your career? Yeah, it would cement it that I don't take shit. So, there's no winning when it comes to talent. Above more than most people. I'm always on the side of talent.
Yes.
Oh, always.
Absolutely.
Talent is because we got it and they don't.
Right. Well, I'm the same. I don't normally get a lot. I mean, I love goofing around. I love talking to the audience. I love coming up with material on the spot. I like, interweaving my own act with whatever happens in the room, and it's fine. Very rarely do I get anybody that's like violent or whatever, but three times. One time I didn't know about it in Phoenix, where I should not have been doing any Trump stuff, but I have a death wish and was like, fuck it. I was at don't
name it, don't say it, don't say
you're right, yeah, okay. So but I'm there
still. I'm giving you advice in the middle of your own fucking podcast.
I know.
I'm always looking out for you.
I know.
I've said numerous times we got to call this cast Burning Bridges, because George just loves to just tear through it. And I'm oh man,
I really do. Yeah. Well, I mean, how many times can you insult Joey Novak before he gets it? I'm just kidding. That's not my. I'm kidding. We'll cut that out. But he's a great guy. But anyway, so no, but I do this thing or whatever, and I did my stuff, and I get off, and they won't let me leave the room. And I was like ready to go. I'm like, talk to everybody else. And the owner just comes out and he's like, you can't go yet. And I was like, why? And he's like, because we got like a bit of an issue. Just give me a second. And he goes out and comes back in again. It's like a couple more minutes. We're going to have everything take care of it. Then I see cops out. Like I see the lights of the fire. What the fuck is going on? I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Somebody get into a fight? And they're like, we're preventing one.
Wow.
Yeah. Military dude. But the funniest thing is that he was so angry with me, he actually left his date at the table and she was just like, how do I get home? And I just gave her money for a cab.
Wow.
I was like, yeah. And then Michigan. The 2 times that happened, two separate years, but did this club, whatever it is, and then the first time it happened, it was Trump stuff or whatever. Michigan's purple, so normally they're mixed, it's fine or whatever, but they gave out.
It's purple because there are pockets of blue and pockets of red.
Exactly.
So you were in a pocket of red. I
was in a pocket of red. and the funny thing is that they had, they do every now and again, like somebody gets a dinner package from the last. So these people were leftovers from the last comedy show. They just got to come to another one.
Yeah.
So they got stuck in mine because everybody else in the room was fine. This one table just kept shouting out. I wouldn't stop the whole time. And then finally I was just like, and I've never had to do it and I've never done it because you know me, normally I'm like, blah, 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 funny, move on. She wouldn't stop. She's belligerently drunk. And finally I actually stopped. I had like 10 minutes left in my act and I stopped and I said, until she's removed, I'm not going to continue. And I had to actually get because the management, I could see them in the back of the room like, I was like, I want to look like, what the fuck are you smiling at? Get her out of my room. And then, but it was nice because the actual owners of the place were super chill and they were really great about it. And they were like, really sorry. And the audience was genuinely embarrassed. And they were like, we hope this doesn't look bad in the town. I'm like, I did 4 other shows here. This is the only one that it happened in.
Right.
I was like, but it was nice for the audience to be like, we're so sorry. Like it was an unusual thing. And then a second time it happened, but after that, it was just fine. It was just like, they were just a bunch of lunatics chanting USA at me.
I had a military guy lose it at me at Pips once.
Really? Oh my God.
Pips.
Wow.
And
in Brooklyn.
What was scary was this is when I learned I don't talk about politics, religion, or sexuality. I did it turned out being some political type stuff. This is like 1995. There was nothing heavy going on politically.
Yeah.
And I mentioned something just about that I wish more people were knowledgeable about the way the system of government works. That's all.
Right.
And that people would, you're free to your own opinion, but really know what you're talking about. That was I was setting up a bit I was going to do.
Sure.
And I said it that way. And this guy says, America or nothing. That's what he yells. And I go, what? And he's right there. Pips is small. I look right down and I go, what? And he said, if you don't like America, I went, oh, wow. Whoa, he was attacking me physically. He goes,
right.
If you don't love America, then get the fuck out and move to Canada and all this shit. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm a Marine. I said, okay. And he was an active Marine. He was in the service.
Wow.
I'm a Marine. I said, okay. I said, I'm just saying that people should have a well-informed idea of why they stand for a certain principle. And he stands up and he just kept standing up. He was like 6'8". He was just gigantic. I'm on stage and we're almost eye to eye. That's how tall the guy is.
Wow.
And he goes, you're not fucking listening to me. I said, no, you're not hearing what I'm saying. Look, let me give you an example. I think people should be informed and then follow their feelings. If they're informed, they can't just go flying off with some sort of bullshit ideology. Let me give you an example. You believe in defending the United States of America? Of course I do. You would do anything to defend the Constitution of the United States. Absolutely. You sure? Yeah, the entire Constitution. I would give my life for the Constitution. And I let a long pause go by and I went, you ever read it? And the anger in his face, I realized he's going to choke me to death.
Right.
Like it was that moment where when I said, do you ever read it? And he realized he'd never read the Constitution. He had no fucking idea. He's saying he's there to defend it, but he's never read it. He was making my point for me.
Yes.
And he just sat down and said, we'll talk after the show.
Wow.
And then Billy Norton went up, the magician, and he walked up. You didn't know Billy. Billy had a voice. It was like this. And he carried all his tricks, all his magic. He'd wear a tuxedo, and he carried all this in an ash can, in a metal garbage can.
Yeah.
So he had one night, this drunk, the same thing right there that night. This drunk starts with Billy. After the Marine who wants to kill me, this little guy, you're not really funny. You suck. You're not magic. And Billy turns his back to go into the ash can to grab his next bunch of trick. And the guy gets on the stage. Billy turns around with a fistful of what they call flash paper. Flash paper is covered in white sulfate. So when you throw it in the air, it burns up immediately and it disappears. It's a thin piece of paper, and that's how they get a fireball, right? But he doesn't grab one or two. He grabs a fistful of flash paper, turns around and flings it at the guy. So all the guy sees is a fireball wrap around his head. It goes just like, look, Johnny, it goes like they go, just around his head. It goes, and the guy's drunk, and he goes, he's shocked, and Billy goes, don't fuck with Magic Man, sit down. And the guy sits down, and then he looks over, hey, Marine, that goes for you too. Just to take the edge off of me.
Right.
So he laughs, he goes, all right.
That's great.
It took the heat out of the Marine who was gonna kill me. I mean, he really was. And he was huge, but Billy didn't have to do that. And that goes for you too, Marine. And he's all right. I shouldn't have said anything. Like, he knew he was wrong. The drunk guy was hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah. The fireball went around his head. There's smoke coming out of his eyebrows. Just for a brief moment, there's smoke, and all he saw was fire. It was so great.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, but that's why I don't do political stuff. I don't even touch it. Don't even touch it.
Jessica Curson told me one time, she goes, when I do red states, she goes, I love cock and I eat meat. I don't get because we were talking about doing that shit.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Is she an actress?
Oh my God. That's fucking hysterical.
Jessica Curson is one of the great joys of being in the world of stand-up comedy.
Yes.
That I know her. We don't see each other. We haven't seen each other actually in a couple of years. But every time I'm in her presence, she and I are giant, goofy 6-year-olds. We can't help it. And we won't stop. We will not stop. She's just a joy to be around. She's a live wire of creativity and talent, and a sweet woman, just a talented person, really, really talented. She's one of those rare people that are always that way. She is always herself on stage. It's not an act. She's that joyful. She loves weird people. She loves odd situations. She loves character-y kind of people,
Yeah.
And she's always looking for the oddities in life. Always. She's always looking for the oddity.
Yeah, she's
know what I mean?
Nice, so funny.
If some woman showed her like an engagement ring, she would be, obsessed with the knuckle that's swollen. Wow, your hand looks fucked up. Yeah, but look, it's a 7-carat. I know, but that looks. What is that? Arthritis? She will find the other oddity about the situation.
That's so true. Yeah,
she's so great.
I used to call. It was always you and her. I would call on my stand-up anniversary because you'd always looked out for me. Always, ever since day one.
Well, you need a lot of help, John.
I honestly, he's right. I can't reach stuff on top shelves at all anywhere. That's the very beginning of the help I need. She always let me host the new talent nights on her shows at Gotham. And when I did a thing for her. No, I did my friend who just passed away, Erica Watson, and a couple of us decided to do a thing at Gotham when we had Jess headline, and there was this comic on stage who went up before me that I don't even think she's doing stand up anymore, but she was like, she did a fucking cartwheel and she was doing all this shit, and I was going, she had no jokes, but she was just very like,
right.
And then, and Jess saw me. And I was about to go up next. And in my head, I was like, oh, what the fuck is going on? Like, I just thought I was fucked. And it was only a couple times on stage, and she came up and she just grabbed me by the shoulder. She was like, "Look, she's got nothing. So you go up there and you ride that energy." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Like she didn't have to do that. And then I did, and I was doing my thing, talking to the audience and acknowledging it. And then she pulled me back again, and she was like, "You have a knack and ability to talk to that, yada yada yada." And she's like, "You got to keep." She said, "People are going to tell you not to do it. Don't listen to them." And I had no idea what she meant at the time, because I was like, "What do you mean people are going to tell me not to do it?" And then
I would have told you not to do it. Oh yeah, I would have said not to do it. I would have said not to do it.
Yeah,
yeah, she's right though. She's right, because she saw that is you.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was. So you and her, I used to call all the time on my stand-anniversary.
So we were like your foster parents.
You were, yes, in many ways. Yeah, exactly. You're my foster comedy parents.
Wow.
Yeah, I need to get you guys. See, I just like my actual parents, I can't get you both in the same room. For some reason, I never see you guys together. I don't understand.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but me and Kirsten are the same person. I wasn't going to tell you, but
just rip off the man.
Then I don't want to hang out with you in red states.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow. He just sits there.
I know.
Like he's in the grassy knoll with he'll wait. He's there 2 days early. I'll wait. I know they're coming. I'll wait.
Yeah.
He's a sniper, too lazy to look for anybody. He just holds the rifle and waits for somebody to walk into the crosshairs, and then he fires. The laziest sniper in the world. What?
You know what I gotta tell you right now? We're tied with Cola.
Oh wow!
Oh, we went that. Oh my God! Look how long we. Oh my God!
I know. We're tied with Cola.
Okay, I'm impressed. I didn't think I could deal with you this long.
It's well, here we are, and it's all on tap. I would love it if the glass just disappeared and you were just like in between.
Oh, I've done that. You know what's the most decadent thing I ever did on stage?
What?
I just hit the stage on a weekend. I just got up there, and I see this woman get up in the crowd, and I realize it's a friend of mine, somebody I know, and I thought something was wrong. I go, "What's the matter, kiddo?" And she has a box in her hand, and she just comes and goes, "Here, these are for you." And hands me a box of cannolis.
Wow.
A dozen large cannolis. I ate the whole box in my hour.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was the most decadent thing I've ever done.
I didn't know you could eat on stage. That is, I'm going to have to try that.
You know what else? I worked at Virginia. Was it? It was either Virginia Beach, but it was either Virginia Beach or it was Richmond. Oh. It might have been Richmond, where it was the last room that you could still smoke inside.
Wow.
That's how long ago it was. And because a lot of military bases there, must have been Virginia Beach. And I said the late show Saturday was a smoking show. And I said, "Can I smoke a cigar on stage?" And they said, "Sure." And it was the only time I ever performed while smoking a cigar. Wow. And it fixed every single problem I had with any joke.
Wow.
It fixed my timing immediately, because I'm so old school. I didn't realize all my old school guys all smoked cigars while they were working. It was like a timing mechanism.
George Burns.
And I used it as a timing mechanism. And that was also fun to do on stage, was to have a cigar and perform for an hour. That was really cool. I'll never get, I probably won't have that chance again.
Did you stay stationary? Did you pace?
No, I'm usually fairly stationary. That's why a lot of guys in theaters love to work with me when I'm doing South Florida, the retirement communities, or any, 1,000-seat or 2,000, anything larger than 1,000. They got to have a follow spot to follow you around the stage. It's a big stage, it's a big room. So I would call the lighting guy down before, when I'm doing sound check. I come here. Are you this follow spot guy? Well, tonight you got the easiest job in the world. When I walk out and I pull this mic out and I move the mic stand, whenever I'm standing, I'm going to be right there for the next 45 minutes. No, I don't move. I stand in one spot.
Do you prefer the tight comedy club or the because I know you've done both. You like the theater.
I don't like people. So I'm serious, if I'm in a club,
answer,
one of the downstairs clubs in the city, where there's 50 people in the room, and basically the stage lines up to the front table,
right?
And you're on top of people. I hate that. I'm most comfortable 2,000 to 3,000 people, that size of a theater. I want a big stage, and I want a tremendous amount of distance between me and the people.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like being in a cramped. The only exception to that was which is not there. It was the Comedy Stop at the Trop in Vegas. That was like a comedy club in a casino. It had low ceilings.
Right.
It was a tight packed room. That room was on fire. That was a great room for comedy.
Wow.
There, but shy of that though, I prefer a theater anytime over a comedy club.
That's gone now too, right? Well, Vegas went first. The comedy
stop left. I think that's where is that where Brad is now? Where's Garrett's room? Because
that's where Garrett's room is now.
Garrett's in there. Somebody's in the MGM, but I haven't been to Garrett's.
Kimmel's
to Brad's room.
Kimmel's in the MGM, right?
I don't know. I haven't been back to Vegas since the Improv closed.
Oh wow, okay.
Because I work the Improv, so
yeah. Because I know the whatchamacallit, the Tropicana one closed, Bob's room or whatever. And
that was Bob Kephart. That was the Comedy Stop at the Trop. That closed.
Oh, okay, yeah, that closed in AC too. It's gone.
Yes. Then that's when I started working the Improv at Harrah's, which is also now gone.
Oh right. Fuck.
Yeah, that was a good room too. That was a great room.
Wow. You've done Boston, right?
Boston. I've been around Boston, not in Boston.
Okay.
I've never performed in Boston. I've always wanted to because Tony V is one of the guys I love,
dude,
as a comic.
I got to talk to him during the charity thing. I wanted to have him on. He is an Alien aficionado. We had some weird chats about it. He knows Tony's a little bit more than I thought he was gonna.
Tony's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. He's hilarious, but he's one of those dudes. I did not know how into aliens he was. So that
you mean from space?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And also Spaniards. But that,
no, you racist. Spaniards are from Spain.
I know. But it's
okay. No, I understand. So I got to get you a dictionary and a map. Okay, sure.
I'm not good with geography. But here's the thing: let me tell you this: if I say Spaniards, it sounds playful. If I say Mexicans, I sound like Trump and racist. I'm just saying. In my head,
trying to legitimize your racism. I understand. Good for you, John. Let's put some polish on this racism. See if it's shiny. Good for you, John.
Just trying to avoid.
Could have went with Latinos. Tossing it out there.
It's
right. That's the most blanketed of statements. You could have just said Latino.
I could have, but Spaniard sounds fun, doesn't it? Is it just me?
I'm not getting on your boat, John.
Look, he's gone.
I'm gone.
Tom doesn't even want to be seen. I said, if you say Spaniard 3 times, Tom disappears.
I'll be right back.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Jesus Christ. Fucking A. Well, listen, before I actually let you go, I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked every guest.
Yes.
It's an important one. It's the unless you want to stay till tomorrow morning, because I'll go get an egg sandwich. We'll do this all night.
Talk to me.
What Tom's gonna have the color bars up on the screen pretty soon in a second. Hang on. What is this shit?
Just play the national anthem and let's go. How old school is that? Do you remember that, John? Do you remember channels going off the air with the national anthem?
I do.
Probably not. I mean, I think I have a memory of my dad falling asleep and having to turn off the TV for him, but I was born in 84, so they probably did away with that. I remember there being nothing on. You
just had to throw that out there. I was born in 84.
Yes, I did it to Wendy Liebman the other night until she realized she could be my mother. And and she was like, "Oh my God." Like, after I told her that, I thought she was going to have a breakdown.
84.
Beautiful year, 1984. That was the year everything came together
and turned to shit. Now, what do you want to ask me?
If you had if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, something that you know now to help you, what would it be?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
One piece of advice, huh?
Mm-hmm.
To give myself. Wow. Well, don't talk at that comedy class.
Oh, the amount of time he made me wait to fucking shoot me one last time, right in the heart.
Waited for you to walk between the crosshairs. I learned that from him.
That was great. Wow.
Piece of advice. No, honestly, trust people to know their job. You know, because I do know a lot of the history of show business. I know a lot of things that have happened, good and bad, to other people in the past, and the whole stories about their climb and then their fall, and their climb and their fall, and how I didn't realize till kind of recently that all the stories of the agents that screwed over this guy, and the managers who hurt that person, and the club owner this, and the producers that, and the director this. Of course, they were all at fault in the stories. I'm hearing it from the talent side.
Right.
And they're not going to put themselves in a bad light.
Right.
And so I kind of had for a little bit when things were popping, 2003, 2004, 2005, I almost got my own show on television. That was, man. And I didn't trust all the agents to take care of this and the lawyers to take care of that. And I kept thinking they're going to do this because this is what happened. You know, this is what happened to Fred Allen, and this is what happened to Frank, and this is what and I was too much in my head. I was too much in the past instead of living in that moment. I would trust people to know their job and do their job, and then nobody's looking out to screw you. If they're your agents and your managers, they're on your team. They don't succeed unless you succeed. So let them help you succeed. Wow. I stepped on a couple of toes inadvertently, nothing major, but I stepped on some toes when I shouldn't have. Not in an egotistical way, but in an ignorant way of not knowing this is not 1950. You know, you're not trying to get on Sullivan. It's different. And I was kind of confused there for a little while. It took me a while, but that's why I'm so up your ass sometimes about call this person, contact that, and then try this and see that, because I get it now. I have a higher view of the land, the lay of the land, you know?
Right.
So but that would be my advice. It's just sit back a little. Would you relax? Nobody's out to end your career. You're not that special. Just sit back and let them try and help you make it, you know?
Oh, beautiful, man. Thank you.
That would be it.
I love that. Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
And start drinking at 9 instead of 12.
Build up the immunity early. That's
my point.
Love
this
it, man.
This has been we're wrapping up now.
Yes.
And this has been very eventual. So it's been, I knew it was coming, but it was like watching the sun set. It's like now, you know. And now it's over. So
right. Oh man.
Yeah, this is fun. It's not that we don't have to break through the finish line. It's so worn and withered now from being so long that it's just falling apart. Now we're going to walk right through the finish line.
Well, when I edit this down to 5 minutes, you're going to love it. First 3 are just you insulting me, and then
wrapping it up. That's it.
That's it. How we're going to do it. We're going to close on you saying start drinking at 9, and then that's how we'll do it. But no,
boys, this has been fun.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for doing it, for staying on for this long.
Sure.
Even though we talked 3 times today already.
It's true. We got a problem.
We do. I think your wife suspects something.
Yeah, I think there's just a whiff of Brokeback Comedy.
John's been trying to make that tour happen for years.
I know.
We don't even need an audience. If you ask me, I think we'd be fine just on our own.
Yeah, he brought a tent and everything. He brought a tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Just stop me before I put on the Joker makeup, because I don't think that ends well.
Are you sure this is where the gig is? I have no cell service. No, this is it. This is it.
It's just me and you at a yurt in the desert. I feel like there should be more people here. No, this is it. This is it. You know, Carlin used to write out here.
When I said I was opening for you,
there's just one abused, shaken turtle. Like, don't do it.
what a bizarre ending to a nice conversation about show business.
Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way.
We covered every base.
We did. Thank you so much.
There's no game being played today, but we covered every base.
Oh, it's so good. Oh my God. Seriously, though, thank you so much, man. It's been a joy.
Anything for you, man.
Thank you, man.
Dystopia tonight.